flexible payment options available. So order now at Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny and Mount Charles. Toyota, built for a better world. T's and C's apply. Best-selling claim based on latest figures.
Looking for a great day out right here in Donegal? Step into the Crawley Distillery Visitor Experience. Proudly voted one of the best places to visit by TripAdvisor. Set in a beautifully restored historic building, it's where the story of Crawley whisky comes to life. Take a guided tour, explore the rich history and enjoy a warm fáilte in the heart of the Gaeltacht. Book now at thecrawleydistillery.com.
Here at Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville and Bridgend, we stock recliner and fabric suites, dining tables and chairs, beds and mattresses, curtains and rugs, and don't forget our large flooring department stocking carpet, vinyl and laminate flooring. We can't be beaten on price or quality and give a weekly delivery service to Donegal, Derry and Strabane, not to be matched. So call in today to Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville or Bridgend for all your home furnishing needs.
Well, he's back. Gregory, good morning to you.
He's back and then he's away.
Where are you going?
I'm off next week.
What?
I'm off next week.
You planned that rightly, didn't you?
Well, I had stuff I had to do last week.
That's all right.
But the next week was planned.
Right.
But I hate that inconsistency of on, off, on, off. But Michaela's a very safe set of hands. It's
I
all
know.
grand.
So I'm just wondering, so you have next week planned?
Yes.
So you didn't have last week really planned? It was
just
kind of
had stuff to
spontaneous?
do.
Yeah, that's okay.
Not
so
bad stuff, good
maybe
stuff.
we don't have time to talk about what you're doing next week, maybe because...
I don't know yet. It's all everything's on the table.
We could get a few wee jobs for you then.
No, that was last week.
All right.
No, that was last week.
Right,
I had
but
plenty of jobs
did
last
you finish
week.
all the wee jobs last
I
week?
did, yeah.
You
Mostly.
did?
Yeah,
God, you're some operator.
I know. That's what they say. You're some operator.
You get stuff done, don't you?
Yeah. Well, there's talkers and there's doers gooch, you know.
Yeah, you're a
You're
doer.
a talker.
And you
I'm a
talk plenty of
doer.
ding dong too, you know. I'll let you go on that. I'll keep you all happy today since your first day back.
All right, then.
Right.
Have a good evening.
Keep her
Take
left.
care of yourself. All right. Thanks to Lee. We're a little bit late going to the news, but it's all good. It's fine, isn't it? It's 9:02, fast approaching. And with the latest news headlines, let's cross over to Donna Marie Doherty. Good morning, Donna Marie.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A large turnout is expected at the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, as the mother and daughter killed in a crash last week are laid to rest. Ellen McLaughlin was just 6 years old and her mother Natalie was in her 20s. Over €41,000 has been raised to support their family since the establishment of a GoFundMe over the weekend. Funeral mass gets underway at 12 noon, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. It has emerged that Letterkenny University Hospital is the poorest performing hospital when it comes to wait times for people looking to begin their cancer treatment. It's according to the journal Investigates, which examined the target that should see 90% of patients receiving care within 15 working days of a diagnosis. A number of protests were held outside LUH earlier in the year, calling for improved oncology services. Maria Delaney, editor with the journal Investigates, says things have improved in Letterkenny, but more needs to be done.
That has had significant efforts put into it since December last year, and it has risen. It stood at 82% in the most recent data from April. But the thing is that most patients in the Donegal area, where I am actually today, would not have received their treatment on time since 2023 here.
A Fine Gael TD is calling for a crackdown on the illegal modification of e-scooters. More than a year after the new laws were introduced to regulate e-scooters, not a single prosecution has been brought for illegal modifications. The legislation brought in last May says a person may not modify an e-scooter in a manner that compromises the safe use of the vehicle. Deputy Barry Ward, who is an e-scooter user, says greater enforcement is needed on the issue.
There's a number of aspects of regulations. They're routinely being breached. We see that. If the regulations are there, let's enforce them. And if Gardaí need more resources to do that, let's give them the resources. I know they have now new machines that are like treadmills where they put the scooter on it and you can see how fast the scooter can go, and that's the base on which those scooters have been seized. And I'm hoping and assuming the prosecutions will follow from them.
The Taoiseach says the coming hours will be crucial in efforts to reach an agreement with the US on tariffs. The Trump administration says it will begin sending letters to 12 countries today setting out charges. It comes amid confusion over when the taxes will come into effect after the US Commerce Secretary said the pause due to expire on Wednesday has been extended until the 1st of August. Simon Harris says he'll spend much of today engaging with officials on the EU and the EU Trade Commissioner as a final push is made to find a way forward forward between the EU and the US. Economist Austin Hughes says despite mixed messages, President Trump seems determined.
By and large, the tariffs won't come in until August the 1st. It had initially been suggested that the tariffs would come in as soon as this Wednesday, but the White House has been saying over the last day or two that it is prepared to actually delay the tariffs coming in for countries where it feels that there's a decent chance of a deal.
Looking now to weather, a dry day with some spells of sunshine, though it may be cooler and cloudier towards the west and north of the province with patchy rain or showers. Highest temperatures of 14 to 20 degrees. That's all from now from the news desk. Back with more at 10.
Deirdre, when you're picking your kids up at school, will you get mine too? I've run out of petrol and my insurance doesn't have breakdown assistance, so I'm stranded here. Don't tell the kids that though. They'll never stop slagging me.
Real life, written by you, underwritten by Allianz. Get covered with breakdown assistance and 15% off car insurance policies at allianz.ie. Allianz plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Standard acceptance criteria, minimum premiums and terms and conditions apply. Breakdown assistance is an optional extra. An additional premium applies.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. You're very welcome along to the 9 till Noon Show here on Highland Radio. It is Greg Hughes with you for the next 3 hours. Thanks very much to Michaela Clark, who sat in for me last week and did a great job, of course. Right, we've a busy show lined up for you, as you can imagine, over the next 3 hours. And the lines are open for you right now. If you want to comment on anything you hear or raise your own issues, pass on your own news, 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 07491 25,000. We love your emails too. Comments at highlandradio.com. So if you're listening on the podcast as well, or maybe you're listening to the overnight repeat and there's something you want to comment, feel free to email and we'll pick that up and carry it into the next live programme. Right, let's have a look at the newspapers this morning, starting with the Derry People Donegal News. And one of those stories that it's very difficult to put into words, and it's when you hear of something happening and it almost doesn't feel possible because it couldn't be true. And then obviously it is true. And our thoughts are with everyone affected by the tragedy. A young mother and daughter killed. A young mother and a 6-year-old daughter were tragically killed in a 2-vehicle collision in Carndonagh last Wednesday. They'll be laid to rest in their hometown today. And it's just, as I say, the most unimaginable news. You can't get your head around it. But then, of course, life is such that you realise that it is true. And we're just thinking on everyone in and around Carndonagh today, all the friends and family, particularly, of course, of Natalie and Ella and everyone involved in that road traffic collision, and just send our love and strength and good wishes and prayers and whatever is applicable to them to try and give them the strength to get through what seems an impossible situation today, in the weeks ahead and years ahead. And we are thinking very, very much on them. And I know that I know for myself from talking to people, I know how I felt on talking to people. It's not just in the Carndonagh area, the Inishowen area. Everyone felt this incredibly personally, and we're sending, as I say, all our love and strength to everyone involved. And, you know, there's been an amazing response to a GoFundMe that was sent up to support the family and honour Natalie and Ella, and I'm not surprised by that, because, as I say, you know, there's times we feel like, well, what can we do? We're helpless. You'd love to be able to do something, and sometimes a GoFundMe page like that means you can do something, and lots of people did, and there's a lot of money that's been raised to down the line support people that might need that support. But the story reads as follows. A young mother and her 6-year-old daughter who tragically lost their lives in a 2-vehicle collision in Carndonagh last Wednesday will be laid to rest in their hometown today. Natalie McLaughlin, in her 20s, and her daughter Ella McLaughlin from Pound Street in Carndonagh were travelling with 2 other family members when their car collided with a van on the R240 at Carrowmore, Glentoher. Ella was pronounced dead at the scene, while the other 3 occupants of the car, her mother Natalie, her father Tyrone, and her baby sister Ria Rose were removed to Oldtown Hospital in Derry for treatment. And we're thinking on Tyrone and Ria Rose and on Natalie and Ella and everybody, her work colleagues, the whole community, but the whole county and region were all devastated by it. But of course, some people more directly than others. We just really hope today is a day that you can get through as best as is possible. On to the Derry news this morning. A 31-year-old man has been arrested following a reported stabbing in Derry on Sunday morning. Police said the suspect also assaulted police officers following his arrest. The PSNI said it was first alerted to the reported stabbing by the ambulance service after 9:30 a.m. Officers responded to Faustina Terrace, located a man aged in his 40s with a serious wound to his arm. He was taken to hospital for treatment. Chief Inspector Cahill Pearce said the suspect was found shortly afterwards in a nearby residential address and arrested on suspicion of wounding with intent to do grievous bodily harm. More tragedy from the United States, and it's hard to believe in this day and age something like this could happen. There obviously was an awful lot of rain. A river busted banks, and 70 people have been killed. That's just a total so far, many of them young girls. A cabin packed with people was swept away by deadly flood water after torrential rain hit central Texas on Friday. At least 70 people are confirmed to have died in Kerr County, including 21 children, and neighbouring areas after nearly 30 centimetres of rain fell on Friday, causing the Guadalupe River to overflow. Among the 41 still missing are 11 girls and a counsellor from Camp Mystic, a Christian summer camp in Hunt, Texas. State officials said the death toll was expected to rise, and in fact it's risen very sadly since this article was published. Before the flood, photos showed an idyllic retreat with green-roofed cabins and names such as Wiggle Inn. However, the scene has since transformed into devastation, with communities submerged, homes destroyed, and vehicles swept away. And there will be questions as to was there an adequate warning that this was going to happen. Obviously, you've got rivers. We know they're established. We know where they overflow, where they flood to, and we have these areas obviously in those zones. And as I say, maybe not now, but questions will be asked as to how that was able to happen without sufficient warning. Or it might be determined that sometimes you can't, as tragic as it is, sometimes you can't necessarily have the knowledge to warn. On to the Irish Times now, and this is one that will be of interest to many of you because I don't know where you buy your cars, and I don't really have an intimate knowledge of car dealerships, but what you do have on occasion is that you're told you must get your car serviced there, or at least you must get official parts, or else you could find that your warranty is void. We're going to be talking about this, I think, a little bit more in a bit more detail a little later on, but as I say, it is interesting, and I wonder, does it resonate with any of you? Motor dealers could face fines of up to €50 million for trying to stop drivers using independent garages for maintenance and repairs, competition regulators will warn today. The Competition and Consumer Protection Commission is writing to the Republic's motor industry, threatening to clamp down on terms in guarantees, discouraging drivers from choosing where they get their car repaired or which spare parts they use. Conditions that void guarantees on vehicles if owners do not go to authorised dealerships for servicing and repairs, or if they buy spare parts not made by their car manufacturers. This could break competition laws. A letter from Craig Whelan, the CCPC's Director of Antitrust, will set out. And I suppose it does make sense, because it means that, you know, you're obliged to go to certain garages. Like, I've heard stories of people having to get certain oil for oil changes, because if they didn't get certain oil and have receipts of it, that they were told that this could invalidate the warranty. That's how deep it can go. Serious breaches of competition law could result in prosecutions and fines of up to 50 million or 20% of a firm's turnover, whichever is the higher, on conviction by a jury. So that's going to be a very stern warning. I think we'll see an end to that practice. It's interesting, though, this is the CCPCs, the same group a couple of weeks ago who we had on the show, that were advising schools, hey, come here, give parents an option to shop around, give parents an option to buy this or that. They're taking a much firmer line on this issue, though. They're saying if you don't stop this practice, we are going to fine you and fine you big money. So there you go. I think if I was in that position, I probably would have presumed that that's just the industry norm. And I'm not saying it is the industry norm, but it's the end of it by the looks of things. The Daily Mail tells us that the Justice Minister has assured the family of the late Jennifer Poole the new domestic violence register will be publicly available. He also said the legislation around it will be known as Jenny's Law in her honour. The Mail understands that under the current draft amendment to the Domestic Violence Act, the new registrar will be published for the public to access once a victim consents to their abuser being named. While Department of Justice, and I'll just go inside here, while Department of Justice officials are working through potential data protection complications, the amendment presented to the Poole family has been cleared by the Attorney General. If passed, the amendment will go further than legislation backed by Fianna Fáil in the last Dáil term, which required Gardaí to act as middlemen. So, effectively, if a person is found to be guilty of domestic violence, and of course all domestic violence is not physical, I presume this is coercive control and every other, and it's not just men, of course, it's men and women can be guilty of this, that you would be named and shamed, your name would be publicly available. I mean, obviously that could act as a deterrent, you'd hope it would, it could warn others potentially. How long does it stay online? Once something goes online, it's online forever. Is there any downsides to this? Because it's about to become law, it would seem, or is it such an emotive topic that we potentially don't look at any downsides and say, look, if this is the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do. I think it's interesting. I'm not sure the conversation has fully started. It's a difficult position to defend, and I'm not saying it should be defended, don't get me wrong, but as I say, it's a big thing, and it'll just be interesting to see if there's any pushback on it, or if you are responsible for such an act, maybe you probably should be named and shamed, and others should be warned of your potential behaviour. Interesting political developments in the United States. I find myself following this tete-a-tete between Donald Trump and Elon Musk quite closely. I'm not sure if when I read these stories, if anyone else cares a less. But anyway, the bottom line is in America, you've got two parties. You've got the Democrats and the Republicans led by Donald Trump. And it's kind of 50-50. If you look at a lot of the votes, it's very, very tight. And Elon Musk, peed off with Donald Trump, he's decided to form a new party, the America Party, where he is going to target certain seats in both houses with a view to having deciding power. The third party would have power. It wouldn't be in power, but whichever party was in power would require his party's support to pass certain laws, and he believed he could have an influence. Now, the rush to support Musk is really quite interesting. I mean, this is a man who's a billionaire, will never have to worry about money again in his life, but he doesn't want tax cuts and he wants spending to be reduced. This is spending on healthcare and all that type of stuff. So he's in his ivory tower saying, I'm going to save America, and people are blindingly supporting him, even though often they don't have two shillings to rub together and don't realise that under his influence you'd pay more tax and have less supports from the state. Donald Trump, obviously not happy about this. He believes it will be problematic for Trump, for Musk. Sorry, others believe it will actually be problematic for the Republican Party. But anyway, I think this is actually going to be the sword that Elon Musk falls on, because he's going to start having to ask questions about abortion. He's going to have to start answering questions about gun control. He's going to have to answer questions about visas for foreign workers, immigration, stuff that maybe he's not prepared for or doesn't have the answers for. And he's already proving quite unpopular in the United States. And quite interestingly, all of a sudden he's become a South African national. Donald Trump threatening to send him back home, in inverted commas. Closer to home, are you interested in the presidency? And this is no disrespect to the president or its office, but sometimes I don't really mind who's the president. Could I put it to you like that? Mairead McGuinness, she's leading the charge to be the president, Ireland's next president, according to a new survey. Ex-EU Commissioner Mairead, 66, topped the Sunday Independent Ireland Thinks poll with 27% support. Where did she garner that support? I find it interesting that she's always really quite high up, but do you know much about Mairead McGuinness? Why would you go for her? What is it about her? And I'm not sort of necessarily asking you to explain that, but I just... why would she get a third of the poll? Like, she's not exactly incredibly high profile, is she? Well, people were presented with a list of names, tipped to take a tilt at the Iris and asked who they'd vote for. And respondents overwhelmingly chose McGuinness ahead of the likes of Sinn Féin's Michelle O'Neill on 14%, Bertie Ahern on 10%, and Conor McGregor on just 5% support. Joe Duffy, he said he's not running for it, but ex-Lifeline host Joe Duffy, who said on Sunday that he wouldn't be running, got 10% of the vote, which isn't terrible. Peter Casey got 5%, and former Fianna Fáil Minister Peter Power, who I, to be honest, completely unfamiliar with, he got 2% of the vote. So there you go. Michelle O'Neill would be an interesting choice if Sinn Féin were to put forward a candidate. And back to the Middle East finally. Israel sent negotiators to Qatar yesterday for indirect talks with Hamas on the latest proposal for a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. So we hope something comes from that. I do note that a former IDF soldier gave a harrowing detail of IDF soldiers firing on unarmed civilians just for the crack in some instances, and also to an unidentified Hamas commander talking of Hamas being completely destroyed in terms of control of what's left of Gaza. So anyway, we'll see what comes from that. All right, 086 60 25,000. Give us a text if you want.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till Noon Show, proudly sponsored by the award-winning Lennon Festival Ramelton, now in full swing. This weekend, catch headline acts: Honour, Queen Tribute, Tumblin' Paddies and ABBA Sensations. For tickets, search Lennon Festival on Eventbrite.
If you're looking for a competitive insurance quote, contact Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers in Letterkenny. Home, car or van insurance, farm, commercial or public liability insurance. They compare quotes from all the leading insurers so you get a great price. Call Hickey Clark and Langan on 91 26688 or call into the office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Did you know lots of babies feed much more in the evening than during the day? When you get used to your baby's routine, you can adjust yours too, so you can sit down and feed when your baby is usually hungry. Visit mychild.ie for advice on pregnancy, baby and toddler health.
Will you have a pint, Gareth?
Sure, I can always take the quiet road home. Drink driving kills. Don't let your friends drink and drive. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
Attention families. On Saturday 12th of July at 10:45am, Jackson's Hotel presents Say It, Sing It, Clap It, the ultimate Miss Rachel tribute show. Bring your toddler and join 45 minutes of singing, signing, puppetry and interactive fun. Tickets are $22.50 per parent and toddler. Book online now at jacksonshotel.ie.
Thinking of a new kitchen, dreaming of a bathroom upgrade, or finally tackling that garden project? At B&S Credit Union, we are introducing our lowest ever home improvement loan rate to help turn your dreams to reality. B&S Credit Union is now lending up to €100,000. For full details of this great rate and flexible loan product, visit our website at bnscu.ie or freephone 1800 290 390, where our experienced loan team will be delighted to help you. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Get ready to dance the weekend away at the Highland Radio Country Music Weekend in the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny from October 31st to November 2nd. 2 nights, 1 dance floor and some of Ireland's biggest country stars. Michael English, Patrick Feeney, Stacey Breen, Jordan McPollan, and I'll be there too, David James, and lots more to be announced. You can enjoy 2 nights bed and breakfast plus tickets to both dances. That's the Highland Radio Country Music Weekend. Spaces are limited, so book now online at highlandradio.com or clanryhotel.com.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now is nearly 24 minutes past 9. Okay, I'm joined on the programme now by Mary T. Sweeney, Ain't Too representative in Donegal. Mary T., good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining me.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, listeners.
Right, we've talked before about the Oldtown Bridge in Letterkenny, and it's history. It's a historic landmark, but it also has an awful lot of history to it. I suppose, Joe, for those new to the story, Mary T, what is the historical significance of this bridge?
Well, the reality is I have to thank local historian Gabriel Flood, who, when I first mentioned it in 2019, Greg, and again, you were very kind to put it on at that stage. He brought forward a lot of the history to me at that stage, and it was datable back to, there was evidence of it to 1641 and prior to that in written evidence. And we know that people don't realise today that the Oldtown Bridge was the only access out of Letterkenny or into North Donegal. That was the main road to Dublin, out over Lake and through Raphoe, and that was the way you went to Dublin, which is unthinkable today. But the reality, that was the most direct, quickest route over the hill into Raphoe, over Mongorry, as we say locally, into Raphoe. And the main traffic came in over Lake Road and had to use the Oldtown Bridge, which was the narrowest, the first crossing point of the River Swilly, until the second bridge was built out of the port. And the next bridge was New Mills, out where the flax mill is. That's the next bridge across the river. So in 2019, residents of the community, because rarely, being honest, I walk the bridge anymore, but I drive it. And I did notice cracks starting in it. But it's when you only see it in certain sunlight, you really see how strong and how graphic the cracks are. And thanks to Mary Devlin, Charlie Devlin's wife at the time, who's a great fisherman down there, he had been under the bridge and he'd noticed concerns under the bridge with the pointing and the security of the bridge, and taking photographs of it. And at that time, there was a council meeting in I think it was Josie's Bar, and I couldn't go myself that night. So I said, please go along and take your photographs and express it, because there was a public meeting for councillors that night. And she did that, or he did that. They went over and they brought them to the attention. And that really started the public having to take responsibility to mind this bridge and hold the council to task over it. 2019, we called then another public meeting when nothing was done in the station house, very kindly hosted by Brian Gallagher, and in the station house, and they all attended, and they invited myself and Colin McDade, and I can't remember who else was with us that night, and I put together a bit of a presentation for the council at their invitation, and we went to the council and made our presentation about this historic bridge, where the Flight of the Earls went over it, where it was involved, the Catholic emancipation. We know that there was 53 native Irish thrown over the bridge to drown. Further research that I did at that time suggested it was women and children. The great Daniel O'Connell had mentioned it later in his speeches in Westminster, to highlight what happened during the rebellion, the Irish Rebellion, and we need to maintain it. Now, Buncrana councillors very well and wisely retained the Cockhill Bridge in Buncrana, and they worked extremely well together to build the new bridge, which was desperately needed. And health and safety grounds were one of the main concerns that they put forward. And we have been raising the health and safety concerns, and every time we raise them, in fairness, they end up having to come out to do treatment. But we shouldn't be depending on the community to have to look about the health and safety of such an important piece of infrastructure, Greg. And I think, there's something not working in our communication system with our councillors and our engineers.
Do you think that, and we can see, people will be very familiar with it. You talked of the underside of it. We're not privy to that, but you've seen the pictures and had the reports from it. But even above ground, there's damage to the bridge, and you kind of wonder, is it only a matter of time before a wall gets tossed over altogether, and then it's, you go, oh, there's nothing we can do now, it's finished with. So do you believe it should be maintained and restored, or do you believe that it maybe an additional bridge could be built and it could be returned to a more traditional feel to it, to I suppose to enshrine it for future generations and to recognise its history? Because there's a lot of planning down that part of the world, Mary T, and it takes a lot of traffic, this little bridge, and it's got a lot of modern tar and stuff already sitting on it. I'm not saying it's about to collapse, right, but there's only so much I think you can ask for its back to bear.
Greg, when I did research in 2023, we came back to you again, and kindly again you let us on the airwaves, and I think it was around that stage then the council came in and did more work underneath the bridge again post the 2019. I wrote to the Office of Public Works, all the councillors. I tend to send it to all the councillors and the engineers to sort of, flood them with it, that they can't say they didn't get it. And one was tempting to pass the buck for responsibility to the other. The reality for me is that the system of imparting information is broken in our councils. We should have a better chain of command, and we should have a better application for as a community to make a demand for a portion of resources coming into the county.
I think too requires for a councillor or councillors to make this a hobby horse, because as much as you campaign as much as you can campaign from outside, sometimes if you get someone who is elected and it becomes a project of theirs, things can move a little bit more quickly. So you're looking maybe for a local councillor to take this. Oh, not local councillor. It's the county's history, right? It's not just Letterkenny's history.
Yeah.
Are you looking for a councillor to take this under their wing, or?
Well, I know that Gabriel Flood and those in the Letterkenny Historical Society are very much in favour of this being retained. The residents are in favour of this being retained. And I have long stated we don't need one. I studied design. I studied art and design, especially three-dimensional design. And I'm saying that the Carndonagh Bridge is not the most aesthetically pleasing, but it's a fantastically serviceable bridge that we would love here. And the local council staff prepared the roads in on both sides when I did the research on it. So we have fantastic, well-qualified local council employees. That why are we not even doing this with all the works that have been going on in the community in the last 10 years alone?
I'm not sure if it's an annual thing, but I certainly remember government making bridge funds available for this type of a project. I don't know when, it could be 20 or 30 years ago. It's very hard to timeline it in my head, but there are those around the country that see the significance of something like this. Yes, it's just a bridge, but it's got so much history, hasn't it?
Well, I have to say, and I'm not averse to complimenting people that do well. And I know I did make the late the Blaney's, what they've done for Fanet. Like, it's fantastic what one man alone can achieve when he puts his heart and soul, like you say, behind a commitment to service the whole area, and that commitment is needed. And it shouldn't have to take that amount of public pressure for them to realise what's needed in the community. I think they've taken their eye off the ball, Greg, and I think our councillors need to come back. Now, I have to thank Councillor Thomas Devine did put a thing that he will try and get on this and support it. And I have the likes of the local man who does a lot of community work, Colin McDade, who's been fantastic. And he's even offered to go in to look for the capstones in the river because he has that qualification to go in, which I think would be extremely dangerous. Having grown up beside the river, we would have had animals and that. It's extremely dangerous to go in anywhere near the river because of the glaur, which is like a quicksand. It's extremely dangerous. And but these are historic, these are capstones that are standing there from potentially the 1600s, many of them, not all of them, but some of them. And,
and there's a window of time here, because what we do see is sometimes we allow things deteriorate to the point where they can't be fixed. And then we sort of start saying, well, we'll have a look to see if it can be fixed. Oh, no, it can't. It's deteriorated too far. So
this is it.
Yeah.
There's one other concern I have is that the Oldtown area, we keep talking about city status for Donegal for the Northwest, and yet none of them, I believe that our planners have great qualifications. And I do question, are the councillors interfering with the planners, or are the planners being allowed autonomy to design appropriate for the area? The Oldtown area should have been retained, where possible, as an architectural area where the first town of Letterkenny stood. That's where we stood at the beginning, in the Oldtown area. And to design, they're now submitting planning permission for new buildings. I have no problem with developing the Oldtown, but we should be developing it with designs that are sympathetic to the idea that this was the central focus, the nucleus of Letterkenny, where it grew from.
I don't think it's down to, I don't think necessarily it's down to planners or councillors or one interfering with the other. I think it's just, and we've seen it historically, whereby we wipe out our history, and it's not done with any malice, and it's not done with any backroom deals. It's just because we have modern needs and we try and meet those modern needs, and then it's too late. You can't go back. And we've seen parts of Letterkenny whereby they've been reclaimed and they are sort of very traditional and where they were at. So I think it's sometimes in our rush to advance, we forget to sort of remember where we came from. And, once something's lost, it's lost and it's gone forever, potentially. So it's just really maybe having a philosophy. I mean, you go into some towns, Mary T, and Ramelton springs to mind and others.
Beautiful.
You can sense the history. But that's been you have to actively think in that way, I think, or else you could find yourself losing the spirit and heart of a town very, very quickly. Raffo also sort of, it does retain it. You feel it kind of retains its links to the past.
I agree, totally. And the few buildings we have left, look, you can do great works nowadays with retaining the facade of a building, and even if it's a modern building, have sympathy to the idea of the facade, and then the back can be more modern. That you've got an impression of being respectful to the character and the nature of where this community has come from. The other concern is like building. There's a new application in for multi-story apartment blocks in what is very wet, down beside the riverbanks, the Burns. And I have no problem with, of course I want homes for people, but it should be sympathetically done for that. If we want the old town, when you go to any city in the world, you want to go and see the old town. We don't want to come and see a modern skyscraper in the old town of Letterkenny. I don't think that's right. I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
We've a lot of greenfield sites.
Yeah, but it's going to take a lot of people agreeing with you. This is not one or two people. It's going to be tight, that this requires a Letterkenny, a county saying, look, this is our history. Let's protect it, because it could be a lone furrow. I can't remember that phrase, but anyway.
When you go into Ardara or places like that, when they've really made an effort to retain the front of the old Victorian buildings, and as I say, it was the first towns and villages that sprang up around the country, and that's what appeals to people coming in from a tourism point of view. And we can generate a lot of revenue.
Even Donegal Town is retained. Ballyshannon, if you look at pictures from the 18th century, I mean, obviously there's modern touches here and there, but fundamentally, development has been relatively sensitive, I think. Okay, Mary T, we'll see what others think.
Can I mention one other thing, Greg? Sorry, just on a community, because I heard you mention community issues. I was very privileged to be allowed to invited to do the TJ's Wish to Walk at the weekend. We had the jumble sale up there in Drumkeen, and at the end of it, they have other objects left there in abundance. And just to mention that today in Drumkeen Hall, it's €5. 5 items for €1 from 12 o'clock today right through to 6 o'clock. For anybody there's lots of things for children, for clothes, for baby cots, carriers, and household bits and bobs, and curtains and blankets. So anybody that's struggling at the moment, and you're going to get great value up there and help a fund for a young girl that goes to Hungary to walk for special intensive physiotherapy. It's a great cause. The camper van was won yesterday, so there was great excitement about that. And I just would wish people go up and support little TJ's Wish to Walk in Drumkeen Hall today from 12 to 6, I think it is today.
Okie doke, certainly. Thanks for that. Take care, Mary T.
Thank you, Greg. Bye-bye.
Lovely to see you again. That's Mary T. Sweeney, an Ainty representative here in County Donegal.
The 9 till noon show with the award-winning Lennon Festival Ramelton. Now until July 14th. This weekend, enjoy Honour, Queen Tribute, Tumbling Paddies and ABBA Sensations. Plus family fun and entertainment for everyone. For full details, see Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
TFI Local Link operates evening and weekend services throughout rural Ireland to help you stay connected 7 days a week. We know life doesn't just happen 9 to 5, so if you're commuting, shopping, visiting family, or going out in the evenings or on the weekends, let TFI Local Link take you there. Visit transportforireland.ie.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
This July, McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles are celebrating a milestone. They've been in business for 50 years and 30 years in their current Buncrana store. To thank all their loyal customers, you can enjoy 30% off selected stock. Plus, massive clearance deals. There's up to 70% off end-of-line tiles. Don't miss these once-in-a-generation savings at McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles, Buncrana.
Sometimes it's just bad luck, but sometimes it's negligence. From minor bumps to life-changing injury, every accident has a story. Time to call McElhenney and Associates. They'll assess the situation, advise on solutions, and lead the way if any litigation is to follow. From motor accidents and workplace accidents to slips, trips and falls, call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. Let's get you started on the road to recovery. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help? In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
Are you female, currently unemployed and looking for a new career in construction? Rural Enterprise SkillNet is delighted to announce the next Women in Construction programme commencing September 1st in Letterkenny. For more information or to apply, visit ruralenterpriseskillnet.ie. Closing date for applications is August 12th with interviews on August 14th. This Rural Enterprise SkillNet programme is co-funded by the Government of Ireland and the European Union.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. Good to have you on board today. And delighted to welcome on to the show Father Braden O'Farry. Good morning to you, Father. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Greg. It's wonderful to be with you.
And it's funny how things move forward, isn't it? It is not that long ago that we were talking about the destruction of the beloved parish church in Derrybeg, completely destroyed in a fire. And of course, you know, we're not fully recovered from that loss either. But we are back, we are in a rebuilding mode now, which is encouraging.
Yeah. It is, Greg. And you're right, just to think that it was 11 weeks today, in fact, to the day, Easter Monday, that we woke up to the devastating news of the church being completely destroyed by fire that morning. And you're right in saying as well, you know, that the sadness is still in our community, and the pain is still fresh and the loss still heavy in the hearts of myself and my people, the people that I'm privileged to serve here. But in those weeks, you know, since then to today, what we've seen, you know, I've witnessed and I've seen just the incredible strength and the resilience, and just how a community has risen from the ashes. And, you know, a community coming together, not just in the parish of Gweedore here, but people from the parish and other people from parishes around us, and even further afield as well in the country and in different parts of the world coming together, and it's a hope renewed. And what it is, it's an unshaken faith that shows us. And you're right, we're in rebuilding mode now at this stage, and kind of going forward from here. We've set up a little working group, Mehel Widde, I've called it, and just to engage with the insurance company, and we have been doing that since for the past number of weeks, and we're actively working just in close partnership with the insurance company and just progressing the project along. And the stage that we're at now at the moment is just at the weekend there. We've mailed correspondences to architects who have kind of expertise in church buildings and similar buildings and so on, and asking them if you're interested in this project. We're asking you to submit a proposal, and then we'll go through all of that, and we'll take it from there. But having said that, you know, even though we're at that stage with the architects and all that, and we're looking for suitably qualified architects, obviously, who have that expertise and experience and so on, the voice of the people is very important as well. And, you know, when we think of the church, the beautiful word that we have in Gaelic, in Irish for church is teach an phobal, the house of the people, the people's home. So it's important to me and to Father Brendan here and to Father Shen, who helps us out as well. And it's important to us that we hear the voice of the community as well, and you know, we assess their needs, or what are their thoughts and ideas on the needs going forward, and what would they like in their new church and so on. Because at the end of the day, it is their church. You know, as a priest, I and other priests in different parishes, we we come into parishes and we spend time in parishes, and then we leave parishes and transfer to other parishes and so on. But the people are the ones who stay, and this is their spiritual sanctuary, their spiritual home. So it's important that that they're listened to as well, and that they have that we understand their needs, and we ensure that their new church, that it has their mark on it as well.
And it is an interesting one, because at the end of the day, when it does come down to opinions, it's really quite subjective, isn't it? And people might want to feel a strong connection to the original structure, how it was designed, a familiarity. Others might see an opportunity to completely redesign the church. And obviously, people are only having a say. There are ultimate deciders in all of this. But I suppose the best thing you can try and achieve is something that's as representative as possible, of as many views as possible.
That's very true, Greg, and that's why the blurb or the statement that we put out on our parish Facebook page, it mentioned listening modes, that we are in that mo éisteart, that it's important to listen to the people, to hear their thoughts. And really ultimately what that means, I suppose, is that we're kind of actively seeking to hear their thoughts, their hopes and their concerns, the concerns of the people, and just what did they like about the church that they had, what did they not like about the church that we had, and going forward, or what would you like to see in the new church going forward. And that, I think there has to be that inclusion, there has to be that shared decision making as well, and that everyone's voice matters in this plan going forward in the future. But you're correct in what you're saying there as well. Ultimately, that there is a decision maker, and I'm conscious as well that when it comes to that the diocese have the final say in any building of churches or church property, and that decisions, I suppose, fall with the diocese because of canonical, I suppose, and legal authority. They're the canonical and legal authority when it comes to church property in the diocese and so on. And so we are keeping the diocesan authorities informed of developments and so on and so forth as well.
And of course, they will consider all views, of course. But you do need, and I think it's good that you have an ultimate decision maker as well. Obviously, thankfully, the church was insured. There was an awful lot of money raised through fundraisers as well.
There was.
I would imagine more than is required. I'm open to correction in relation to that. Is there scope here with any development for, I don't know, further community facilities? The site seems quite tight. Father, I'm not sure what the options are in that regard, or what the plans are, or if there are any at this point.
Well, the wonderful thing about it is that we have a blank canvas at the moment, and kind of going forward, we'll sit down with when the architects that we've requested to submit expressions of interest, they'll come up with their designs and plans, and that will be informed, of course, as well by the people themselves as well, what they want, what their needs are, and the current needs and the future needs as well, and kind of looking at, well, what other kind of aspects could we develop as part of this church? What do we need? Do we need a pastoral centre? Do we need a centre where people can gather, maybe after Mass, for a cup of coffee, or for talks, or to talk and to meet on a social occasion? Or do we need maybe classrooms for going forward? For teaching catechesis and so on? Or do we need a columbarium? Do we need all of these different facilities and so on? So that'll all be in the mix when it comes to the architects. And you're right as well in mentioning that the people have been fantastic when it comes to fundraising, and that there has been a huge fundraising effort, and GoFundMe, and then individual contributions from the community and different groups at home and abroad as well. And we're very grateful. And that fund, I suppose, it's a contingency fund that will, as I mentioned, the church is insured by Allianz, and there are talks and ongoing talks going on there, and then the claim will be submitted and so on. And the Allianz is that the cover there is that they will provide a modern day equivalent of what was there, taking into consideration, of course, all the different regulations that are in place now that probably weren't in place in 1972 when the church was built. So this other fund, it's a contingency fund to add to the church when it is built and so on, and so that's where we're at the moment.
Okay, Father, how do people? I haven't seen the post. How are people contributing their opinions in relation to this, or is that portal in inverted commas opened yet?
Well, no, it hasn't. It hasn't opened yet. No, what going forward, what we will do is we will have a community consultation, and we'll just to see what are the thoughts and ideas and opinions of the parishioners here and the wider community as well. So we're kind of working through that, of what format that'll take, and how do we lead that, and how do we hear from maybe people who are not living in person here in Gweedore and who would still want to contribute their thoughts and opinions, and how can we best facilitate that going forward, because it's, as I said earlier on, the Chahan Fubble, the house of the community and the house of the people, and just to find as many and to hear and to listen to as many opinions and thoughts as possibly can, and build on that going forward. And I suppose the kind of going forward, the message is that even though the beautiful church that we had here in Derrybeg, Chapel Moida, and that it's not as fallen as we know, but the true church is the lives of each and every one of the individuals in the community here in Gweedore.
Yeah, it's the memories, isn't it? Everything we've talked about is, I mean, obviously the building and the structure is important, but it's the memories we talked at the time of the weddings, the christenings, the funerals, and they still exist.
They do.
And the foundations are there now, I suppose, in terms of people's goodwill, people's prayers, people's generosity, and we're on the first tentative steps of the rebuild. So it is. It's in a positive direction. We're moving now, Father, notwithstanding the hurt that still exists. Thank you so much for your time, and obviously any assistance we can provide in the future in reaching people, please feel free to engage with us, Father.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much, Greg. Thank you very much to yourself.
Father Braden O'Farry there, 086 60 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with the award-winning Lennon Festival Ramelton. Join us Monday, July 14th for the festival's grand finale, featuring ABBA Sensations Live, followed by a spectacular fireworks display. For the latest festival updates, follow Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
Charge into summer with TUI. Secure your holiday today with savings for families and adults flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
The Hillary's summer sale just got even better. Get up to 50% off hundreds of made-to-measure blinds, curtains and shutters. Plus an extra 10% off everything until the 28th of July. That's 10% off all blinds, 10% off all curtains and 10% off all shutters. With Hillary's, measuring and fitting is always included, and your local advisor is with you every step of the way. Book your free in-home appointment today or visit hillarys.ie. But hurry, this extra 10% off everything ends 28th of July. Conditions apply.
T-Shirt Express has moved. You'll now find us beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny. We're still your go-to spot for custom t-shirts, workwear, gifts and balloons. Just in a fresh new location. You can still reach us on the same number, 086 343 3504. T-Shirt Express, now beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny.
From Thursday the 17th until Sunday the 20th of July, all roads lead to Monaghan Town for the return of the highly anticipated 4-night open-air country music festival featuring Ireland's top acts, the Tumblin' Paddies on Thursday, Jimmy Buckley on Friday, Mike Denver on Saturday, and Michael English on Sunday, with some of the best support acts, plus the jiving competition. Tickets are available from the West Arna Arms Hotel in Monaghan. For more information, check out Monaghan Country Music Festival website or our Facebook page.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
So, a dry day for most today with some spells of sunshine, though it will be cooler and cloudier towards the further west and north you go of our region with patchy rain or showers. Breezy in a fairly fresh northwest wind, temperatures of 14 to 20 degrees. And as this week wears on, we are returning to more summer-like weather with temperatures in the 20s and spells of sunshine, and we'll have to be conscious of sunblock and our access to the waterways and all that kind of stuff, because we do rush out to enjoy ourselves, and we should, but we have to be careful as well. So that's to come. So we are going to get a bit of nice weather too, and that lifts everyone's spirits as well. And what happens as well at this time of year is that we see a massive influx into the county of tourists and visitors, and We look forward to welcoming them and their money, their company and their trade, I think is the right thing to say. Was any of your listeners on the main Lifford to Letterkenny Road on Saturday night at Ballinleckie at the turn off for Derry at around 12:30? There was about 200 young people standing there watching boys going round and round in their cars in the middle of the road. It was very scary. So that seems like, by the sounds of it, it was a sort of spontaneous diffing event. But obviously lots of people knew about it. There was a big turnout. Did anyone call the guards? Did the guards arrive? Mairead McGuinness would not be my choice. I would vote for Catherine Connolly for president. She's educated, a great speaker, and has compassion and a deep understanding of the law. Michael D is a hard act to follow. No doubt Fianna Fáil will roll out Bertie. Well, I'm not sure. He spent the last 10 years sort of not ruling out a run for presidency. But I know a couple of people who would have always been asked if they would be the next Donegal manager, and they never ruled it out really until it was the right time to rule it out, because there's a bit of value in having your name out there. Do you know what I mean? I don't think Bertie Ahern will ever be president of Ireland. I don't think he'll ever contest the presidency either. But I think him not ruling himself out has always kept that question alive and kept him relevant, and continued his rehabilitation, assisted by Radio and Telefish Aaron. A caller says, I think it's laughable that the likes of Joe Duffy and Bertie Ahern are names put forward for the presidential election. Let's show the office some respect with the calibre of people we put forward. Well, Joe Duffy, 300,000 odd listeners a day, would be highly respected in certain circles. Others people just... When you're in the public eye, some people love you, some people hate you. That's just the way it is. I think more people like Joe Duffy, though he is not contesting the presidential election, we're told. Hi, Greg. Mary T spoke of the Buncrana councillors getting Cockhill Bridge done. For context, the first item on the agenda of the old Buncrana Urban District Council was the Cockhill Bridge a century ago. It took over a century to deliver. Did it? Was it? That sounds familiar to me, but that's a brilliant story. It should never take that long, but it's a brilliant story if that was one of the first items on the agenda. Heritage, everything to do with councillors and planners, policy on a matchbox, the loss of our railway routes. For instance, there would have been greenways constructed with ease by now, like other countries. Instead, we let people build houses on them, and we didn't give ourselves space to decide what we do with the old rail tracks. We should never have lifted them, but we should have allowed ourselves a couple of generations to decide what was best going forward. Greg, it was the people of Cockhill got the new bridge, not the council. The local people had an action group and worked hard to get the bridge. Tell Mary she's having a laugh. Donegal County Council, you be waiting. Good to hear you back, Greg. The show isn't the same without you. It's different. Some people prefer other people presenting the show, and that's fine. I love being back, and we have a great listenership. And thank you for your kind words. I really do appreciate that, by the way. It feels nice. Oldtown Bridge was the crossing point between East Donegal and Northwest Donegal before the town side of Letterkenny was incorporated into East Donegal in the last century. It's wonderful history. I love history. And I just, if I go somewhere, it's not the glass and the modern stores and the pubs that I'm really interested in. What you remember is sort of feeling that you've learnt something about the history and culture of an area. And we want to be sure that we do that in Letterkenny, as we are doing in other towns and areas of the county, I think. Right. That's the first hour of the week sorted. We'll be back with more after we take a break now to listen to the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till Noon Show, proudly sponsored by the award-winning Lennon Festival Ramelton. Now in full swing. This weekend, catch headline acts: Honour, Queen Tribute, Tumblin' Paddies and ABBA Sensations. For tickets, search Lennon Festival on Eventbrite.
Imagine this, toes in the sand at Old Head Beach, the thrill of zip-lining at Westport Adventure, wandering colourful streets, ice cream in hand, sailing across the calm waters of Clew Bay, the wind in your hair on the Great Western Greenway. Westport. Find your own adventure at destinationwestport.com.
Meet Frank. He made big savings on his car insurance when he made the switch to Outsurance.
Hi, I'm Frank. It's true. I saved €182 when I made the switch. And with the Out bonus, I know I'll get 10% of my premiums back in cash after 3 years claims free.
Great stuff. For a competitive car insurance quote like Frank's, call 1800 600 400 or visit outsurance.ie. Real people, unreal savings. Outsurance. You always get something out. Based on a like-for-like policy comparison, the customer received a gratuity for their participation. Out bonus calculated less taxes and levies. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Car and home insurance is underwritten by Outsurance DAC. Outsurance DAC trading as Outsurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
McGowan Hearing, your audiologist experts, now in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Carndonagh. Book your free hearing aid consultation in our clinic or your home across the northwest and beyond with Darren McGowan on 07191 00208.
Is your couch older than your Spotify playlist? Is your dining table wobblier than your uncle at a wedding? If so, it's time for an upgrade at Grove Furnishings, Kiltoy Road, Letterkenny, the largest furniture store in the northwest. From stylish sofas to elegant beds, from floor covering to occasional pieces, we've got you covered. And we offer free delivery within 80 kilometres. Grove Furnishings. Seriously good furniture.
Who the hell are you? Get ready, Donegal. Highland Radio is throwing a party like no other. It's the Big Highland Summer Bingo Party, hosted with me, Keith Fletcher.
And me, Lee Gooch, Hawaiian shirts, hulas, how the hula are ya? Big laughs and even bigger cash prizes. With €1,000 up for grabs, expect big party tunes, madness, and just a little bit of mayhem.
So, Saturday the 2nd of August at Jackson's Hotel, Ballybofey.
You better get your tickets quick on eventbrite.com.
Hey, what? Is it over 18s?
You better mention it's over 18.
Okay. And it's over 18s.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning. Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A Journal Investigates report has named Letterkenny University Hospital as the poorest performer in hitting targets that should see oncology patients begin treatment within 15 working days of diagnosis. A statement from the Health Service Executive says some delays can be caused by waiting to ensure patients are fully recovered from pre-treatment surgery, and increased demand is also putting the system under pressure. In the short term, 4 additional treatment bays have been put into use to increase capacity. There are also long-term plans, including an ambulatory centre. Maria Delaney, editor with the Journal Investigate, says things have improved in Letterkenny since the start of this year.
Letterkenny University Hospital came out the worst. Now, that was extremely bad in 2023 and 2024. In some months, no patients were seen within that time or got treatment within that time. Now, that has had significant efforts put into it since December last year, and it has risen. It stood at 82% in the most recent data from April. But the thing is that most patients in the Donegal area, where I am actually today, would not have received their treatment on time.
And you can hear and read the full response from the HSC on our website, highlandradio.com. A large turnout is expected at Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh today, as the mother and daughter killed in a crash last week are laid to rest. Ella McLaughlin was just 6-year-old. Her mother, Natalie, was in her 20s. Over €41,000 has been raised to support their family since the establishment of a GoFundMe campaign over the weekend. Funeral mass gets underway at Sacred Heart Church at 12 noon today, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Donegal County Council is being warned that if development is not allowed at Fawn Marina, then an opportunity to substantially increase the area's tourism infrastructure and visitor numbers will be lost. Speaking at a meeting, the Inishowen Municipal District Cathaoirleach Paul Canning said there is a proposal on the table to improve facilities and develop a hotel at the marina there. However, he says efforts by council to amend the county development plan in order to facilitate that work have been blocked at national level. He says work does need to be done to improve sewage treatment facilities in the area, and issues at nearby Lisfannon Beach also need to be addressed, but Councillor Canning says the whole issue needs to be revisited as a matter of urgency.
Fawn needs that marina and also need a hotel for tourism attraction. There's developers down there that will put their hand in their pocket if they see potential in Fawn, but at the minute there is no potential now. Anywhere you go for now and you go to a marina, there's always 2 or 3 hotels. We have to step up to the mark, and Inishowen is a great potential for tourism, and that is the way into Inishowen. So we need a decent hotel there, a decent marina there as well.
Today marks 11 weeks since St Mary's Church in Derrybeg burnt down. News broke on Easter Monday morning that the blaze had gutted the building. It was later determined there was no foul play. A huge fundraising effort by the local community has seen tens of thousands of euro raised to see a new church erected. The parish priest, Father Braden, says they're now seeking out architects.
the stage that we're at now at the moment is just at the weekend there. We've mailed correspondences to architects who have kind of expertise in church buildings and similar buildings and so on, and asking them if you're interested in this project. We're asking you to submit a proposal, and then we'll go through all of that, and we'll take it from there.
A Fine Gael TD is calling for a crackdown on the illegal modification of e-scooters. More than a year after new laws were introduced to regulate them, not a single prosecution has been brought for illegal modifications. The legislation brought in last May says a person may not modify an electric scooter in a manner that compromises the safe use of the vehicle. Deputy Barry Ward, himself an e-scooter user, says greater enforcement is needed.
There's a number of aspects of regulations. They're routinely being breached. We see that. If the regulations are there, let's enforce them. And if Gardaí need more resources to do that, let's give them the resources. I know they have now new machines that are like treadmills where they put the scooter on it and you can see how fast the scooter can go, and that's the base on which those scooters have been seized. And I'm hoping and assuming the prosecutions will follow from them.
Weather forecast: a dry day with some spells of sunshine, cooler and cloudier toward the west and north with patchy rain or showers. Breezy in a fairly fresh northwest wind. Highest temperatures 14 to 20 degrees Celsius, warmest further east. Tonight will bring patchy rain or drizzle to northern and western parts in lowest overnight temperatures of 9 to 11. A light to moderate northwest to west wind. Rather cloudy tomorrow with scattered outbreaks of drizzle in highest temperatures of 17 to 23 degrees. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with headlines at 11. Check all the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices this Monday morning, July 7th. The death has taken place of Edward Russell, Glenarrock Glen, formerly of Brochus Creasla. Viewing will take place at the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, today from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m, followed by removal to Glenarrock Glen. No wake, house strictly private for family only. Private cremation will take place at Lakelands Crematorium Cavan on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Family only please. Family flowers only please also. The death has occurred of Joseph Logue, 9 Dún Ard Kiltoy, Letterkenny, formerly from Ballykerrigan, Cloughan. Joseph will repose at the home of his granny, Anna May Boner, in Ballykerrigan, Cloughan from 12 noon today. Requiem Mass at 12 noon tomorrow in the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Succour, Glenfin, with burial afterwards in Kilwara Cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed on the parish webcam. Rosary at 9 p.m. this evening, with family time from after the Rosary and on the morning of the funeral. A shuttle bus will operate from the Reelan Bar car park during the wake. Family flowers only please. Donations if desired to the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Patrick Doherty, Main Street, Rathmullen, County Donegal. Requiem Mass today at 2 o'clock in St Joseph's Church, Rathmullen, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please before the funeral. Mass can be viewed on mcn.live. The death has occurred of Tony Clerkin at the Glebe, Letterkenny. Requiem Mass this morning at 11 o'clock in St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv, followed by cremation in Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. Family flowers only please. Donations if wished to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Uniform bundles aren't just great value. With a 2-pack of polo shirts, skirt or trousers, plus a cardigan or sweatshirt, all for less than €5. They also come with a 12-month satisfaction guarantee. So they're ready for all the thrills and, well, spills of a whole school year. Bring it on. In store now, while stocks last.
And we're into the second hour of the 9 till noon show. Good morning to you. Aontú leader Paddy Tobin's going to be in studio with me in this hour. I think it's in this hour. Ahead of a meeting tonight. Maybe you've got some questions or points that you wish to put to Deputy Tobin. Let me know. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. Alternatively, give us a call on 07491 25,000. You can always email comments at highlandradio.com. Before we get the bingo numbers for this Monday, it took a Dublin man to come up and get the Cockhill Bridge. I told you you'd be waiting for Donegal County Council 100 years. Nothing changed there. Did you tell me 100 years ago? But anyway, thank you for that. There has been opportunities to put tourism accommodation, small hotels, luxury accommodation, etc., but council keeps refusing it as sewage system is full in Faughan. Well, that's a problem we have right across the county. We have issues with water and sewage. We know Milford been under the Milford area, parts of Milford and surrounds have been under a hose pipe ban now for a few months because there's just not enough water. The system we employ to gather the water, catching it from the sky, treating it and pumping it out is not working. It's not working effectively. And there's serious pressure on water supplies in other areas of the county. And that is not just here, but it could be countrywide, one of the biggest barriers we have to providing houses. It's not necessarily about the price or the contractors. These things are all really important, but you need somewhere to get water from and to whatever waste you might have to exit it from your property. And I don't know how we can build to scale with the current poor infrastructure. That's one of the biggest challenges. Right, okay. Good luck if you are playing the bingo today. Just to remind you that hundreds of euro are won on the bingo every single day. And it does support a fantastic charity as well. We've got the big jackpot on a Thursday as well. But as I say, right across the county, people are picking up 200 quids. They roll over and sometimes into the thousands as well. That's just the daily cash prizes. We also have, of course, the Thursday jackpot all on top of that. But people are winning big on it all of the time. And it's not a club. You can get involved at any stage if you want to. You can pick up bingo books in your local shops. They're all across the Northwest and support Vision Ireland in the process.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 7th of July. You're playing on the green sheet for the daily prize of €600. The reference number is S16. It's game number 28. The numbers are 85, 19, 21, 39, 76, 28, 4, 20, 41, and finally 35. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Carrigart's biggest weekend of the summer is here. Carrigart Fest kicks off this Friday with one for the road. Bingo Loco goes country on Saturday and the Whistling Donkeys are live Sunday. All in the marquee. Tickets going fast on Eventbrite or at reception. Stay the night and enjoy the new restaurant. Book now at carrigarthotel.com.
Summer toys at Tinny's Toys. Everything for an outdoor summer. Swings, slides, trampolines, goalposts, rebounders, sand table, wheelbarrows. Of course, we also have our massive range of kids, pedal and electric toys. Need something for those rainy days? Well, we've that covered too. With the likes of Brooder Toys, Lego, Marvel Toys, books and more. Call into our store on the Leck Road, Letterkenny, or shop online at tinnystoys.com. Tinny's Toys. Much more than just farm toys. Dan Boy.
Luxury living begins at the heart of your home, your fireplace. At Sprat Fireplaces, Newmills, Letterkenny, we offer statement fireplaces, bespoke surrounds, and a wide range of stoves, including gas, wood burning, pellet, and bioethanol models. No chimney? No problem. We'll help you choose and install the perfect solution. Stylish, efficient, and tailored to your home. Call 074 912444 or visit spratfireplaces.ie. Sprat Fireplaces, bringing comfort and style home.
The 9 till Noon Show with the award-winning Linen Festival Ramelton. Now until July 14th. This weekend, enjoy Honour, Queen Tribute, Tumbling Paddies and ABBA Sensations. Plus family fun and entertainment for everyone. For full details, see Linen Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
Right, we're joined on the programme now by Maria Delaney, who's editor with the journal Investigates. Thanks so much for your time. Do appreciate it. Good morning to you, Maria.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Right, now, you've been digging into HSE figures as it relates to delivery of cancer treatment. And unfortunately, Letterkenny has some of the worst outcomes. So I suppose, what were you looking at and some of the key findings, Maria?
So I was looking at what happens. So when you're diagnosed with cancer, you're often told you can have chemotherapy or immunotherapy, those type of treatments that you have to go to a day ward for. So how long does that take once you get told that you're ready for that treatment? So it's supposed to be within 15 days that you get a chair on these day wards. But I found that times are getting longer and longer. And just one hospital actually met that deadline all the time since 2023. Now, unfortunately, this is another example where lack of investment in the Northwest has really shown, especially in Donegal, because Letterkenny University Hospital actually turned out to be the worst during that time. So that's from January 2023 to April 2025.
And what is, firstly, where did you get the data? Is it the NCCP?
Yeah, so it's the National Cancer Control Program. So that's part of the HSE. So we put a Freedom of Information request in for that. Around that KPI, we actually had heard that there were long waiting lists around Ireland, like not just in Letterkenny, but where people, when they were supposed to be treated within 3 weeks, which is a standard that like some people would need to be treated sooner than that, but they were being pushed out. Now, this is having a dramatic impact on patients, not just potentially impacting their care, like their long-term care, potentially not getting the treatment on time where cancer could get worse, but also the psychological impact was really hammered home by, I spoke to Avril Power, who's CEO of the Irish Cancer Society, and Dr. Michael McCarthy, who's from NUI or from Galway University Hospital, who said that psychologically for many people to be waiting that long, it's very challenging.
Yeah, so it is from diagnosis, and what is to what point? Sorry, that you've timelined this, Maria.
Yeah, so the
it's
timeline would be
from diagnosis to what happens to the patient, and that's the timeline we're talking.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily that you're diagnosed with cancer and that you, the timeline is that within 3 weeks you've started chemotherapy. It's whenever the patient is ready for chemotherapy or immunotherapy. So that might take a little bit of time because they might need workups, they might need scans, and sometimes people are too unwell or they mightn't tolerate the side effects. So they need to be a certain level of wellness or a certain kind of case to actually start. But once the patient is ready to start, then it's supposed to be within 3 weeks that they start on the day care ward. So it is a KPI that's measured by the HSE, and 90% of hospitals have to treat 90% of patients within that time. So that's the target.
Yeah, and there's another set of figures which would be very interesting for someone like yourself or what have you, is the KPI from when someone is diagnosed to when they actually receive their surgical procedure, because I think that would open up another can of worms, particularly for us here in Letterkenny University Hospital, because that's obviously another critical piece of information that I think we'd fare very poorly in relation to. This obviously too, and speaking, I have spoken to consultants about this in the past. These delays are it's not just the stress and anxiety; it can affect outcomes as well. So we are talking about people's recovery, people's survival in some cases.
Exactly, and we have spoken to patients who said that their recovery was impacted by this. One patient in particular waited so long that, and this isn't in Letterkenny, but they waited so long that they were no longer able to have surgery, because often people need chemotherapy to shrink tumours before they get surgery, and that unfortunately didn't happen for them. So Avril Power, again, the CEO of the Irish Cancer Society, said that it risks disease progression, it worsens survival outcomes, and obviously I've already talked about the deep psychological harm that can be given on patients and families.
Yeah, for sure.
Like in terms of Letterkenny though, like I suppose like this really stood out. So this is actually my local hospital. I don't have a Donegal accent, but I live up in Donegal. And it was the lowest performer during that time, and it never met the 90% target. So I found this very shocking. Thankfully, it is improving. But if you look at the figures, just 12% of cancer patients were treated within the first 15 working days target that I was talking about. Now, this was significantly lower than the next lowest, which was 52%, and really, really significantly below the national average, which was 85%. So there was some kind of significant improvements done on that kind of since November 2024. Obviously, this was highlighted as an outlier, and they worked on kind of how can we maximize the chair space. So this is where people actually need chairs to sit in to undertake these treatments. And when they did that, it did improve, and now the latest figure was 82% from April 2024. It's still not at the 90%, but is thankfully improving. But it just shows the kind of postcode lottery that people face, and also how awful in the last number of years it was for cancer patients in the Northwest that they did have to wait such a long time.
Yeah, in the HSC have sent a lot of stuff here, but a line that jumps out at me: short-term plans to enhance capacity at LUH, including adding 4 additional treatment bays as an extension to the day ward situated on the inpatient floor. We've been talking about that for a very, very, very long time, and it's remarkably complicated to move furniture around in a hospital, let alone do anything else, it would seem. What did the HSC say to you, if anything, in response to the article, sort of broadly speaking, Maria?
Yeah, so they did acknowledge that this is an issue. I'll just bring up exactly what they said here, but they did say that it is an issue, and that they acknowledged that there were capacity constraints across a number of hospitals. Now, they did say that some of these were being addressed in the capital plan for 2025. I didn't see Letterkenny as part of that. It was interesting, one of the hospitals that was part of that was Cavan, and now Cavan actually had 100% of patients seen within this time. So it's that I just thought that was interesting. In terms of the Letterkenny Hospital itself, you probably know well, you're probably talking about this a long time, but the need for the ambulatory daycare non-patient care facility, and that's been identified as an ambulatory care hub to be provided. So that was kind of
I think really,
that was what I was put out to
I
me.
think that was promised previously and never was delivered.
Yeah.
And we've heard from local medical professionals who believe it's 7, 8, 9, 10 years away. And it's interesting that the HSC has wheeled that out, because some might feel it's a little bit like gaslighting, because the HSC know the views and what's needed right now, and an ambulatory centre is not even at planning stage yet.
Well, that's the thing. Like they said, work has already commenced on the clinical health planning study. So that is just a study to see how this would be developed, I suppose. So as you're saying, it hasn't reached planning stage. There was no timeline given in my press query, and it did say the hospital will be making every effort to secure funding and progress this plan as in an expedient a manner as possible. But as we know, these things take time. When you talk about what is needed, so Dr. Michael McCarthy, who's the consultant oncologist I spoke to from Galway, now they weren't from Letterkenny, but this is kind of needed across the board. It's a mixture of infrastructure. So as you're saying, there's capacity constraints, and there's only so much you can do with the capacity that you have, but also staffing. So I suppose that's one thing, that if you add extra chairs, you also need extra staff. And that's often where the kind of the bottleneck occurs, that even if you have the extra infrastructure, because there's staffing caps and everything in the HSC, that is a big issue. Obviously, the staff that would be required for this would need to be specialistly trained as well. So that's kind of something that you need to plan for. One of the other things is what they were saying about looking and seeing how the workflow is going. And that's what they did in Letterkenny to improve the KPI so far. And that's things like, patients might still be told that it's 8 weeks away, but then they fit people in through cancellations, and they prepare the treatments before they come in. So people sit on the chair, get the treatment straight away. So that kind of workflow stuff. But I suppose one of the big issues that we identified is this is going to be a growing problem. It's not going to go away. Cancer is continuing to be diagnosed. The reason is that people are getting older. We all know that the older people get, the more likely it is to get cancer. That's just a fact of life. And with a growing population and an older population, this problem is not going to go away. And we're publishing an article again later this week, but the person who was speaking to me about that, an expert, told me that like we're always kind of when we put something in place, it's kind of done for maybe now, so the numbers that are now, but by the time they're in place, it's already out of date. So I think that's like a real worry for people, especially, as you know, in the Northwest and Donegal, where things often take so long to develop.
Yeah, indeed. And I can think of two examples: the ED at Letterkenny University Hospital, the new Little Angel School. Two perfect examples of building not even enough capacity for now, let alone for the future, and investing millions in that regard. Great work, Maria. Thank you so very much indeed. Take care of yourself. I do appreciate your time.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Maria Delaney, editor with the Journal Investigate. So the HSE's response, they talk through a lot of the sort of national picture, but then they talk about what the solution is locally. So remember, we were the worst performing in terms of cancer treatment. So this is how we may or may not survive a cancer diagnosis in this region compared to how someone may or may not survive a cancer diagnosis in another region. And the short-term plan, there's two things identified here. One, 4 additional treatment bays. That's the short term. Unfortunately, the other solution is the ambulatory centre. Now, we do need that. We need the ambulatory care hub. We need any resources that we can get. But you know yourself, you've heard it, that we don't have the time. That's what consultants and medical professionals are saying, that we don't have the time because Letterkenny University Hospital is on a tipping point. But it seems that the only show in town for Letterkenny at the moment is this ambulatory care hub. And it is a long, long time away, I'm told. HSE West and North West All Reid is continuing to progress a capital plan across the region, which include proposals for significant investment at LUH. The hospital has identified the need for an ambulatory care hub to be provided on the Letterkenny campus. This is a standalone facility to provide ambulatory non-patient or non-inpatient care. The hospital is currently working with the HSE Capital and Estates to develop a business case for this development in line with the capital approval protocols. The ambulatory centre will need to provide additional functionality and capacity to meet the needs of County Donegal in the form of additional ambulatory cancer capacity, including much larger haematology oncology day unit, new symptomatic breast cancer unit and ambulatory urology facility, and additional diagnostic and surgical facilities. Work has already commenced on the clinical health planning study. So we're working on a clinical health planning study for this, for LUH, and this standalone facility will align with the strategic vision of the follow-on development control plan for the campus. The hospital will be making every effort to secure the funding and progress the significant capital development on the LUH campus in an expedient manner as possible. But as I say, the ambulance hub has already been committed to. It never transpired, and there is a sense that what will be there to add to if Letterkenny University Hospital doesn't get the surgical hub, as 171 plus doctors and consultants believe that it is required. If they lose many more staff in critical areas, the ability to perform operations and function as a Model 3 acute hospital becomes more and more complicated. They say 18 months. They don't have time to wait the 7, 8, 9, 10 potential years for an ambulatory hub. We hope it comes to pass, but there is a sense that surgical hub is needed as well. A caller says, my family member went through cancer treatment in Letterkenny Hospital on 3 different times over the last 12 years, breast cancer, then ovarian and then bowel cancer. On the 3 occasions, the treatment and aftercare in Letterkenny Hospital has been on time and faultless, i.e. chemotherapy, etc. Still having scans on an ongoing basis, but doing good, which is great to hear. Just putting something good about the hospital out there. And I appreciate that. It's very important. I suppose it's very important when we talk about the hospital that it's understood that we're not talking about opinions, or we're talking about people's genuine experiences. We're talking from HSE's own data in terms of key performance indicators being missed for cancer treatment. So I'm more than overjoyed that your family member's experience was this. But it's not that we're criticising staff or what. It's literally talking about the facts. And then when we talk about how long it might be to deliver an ambulatory hub, it's only based on facts and experience and previous commitments, etc. And when we talk about the importance of a surgical hub for the future of the hospital, it's not just an opinion. It's the opinion of almost 200 doctors and people working from within the hospital. So notwithstanding the excellent stuff that goes on down there, it can't offset the problems that the HSE themselves admit they have, but also people working in health in this area recognise that are there, if that makes sense. But I'm so pleased that your family member had that experience that they did have. What I do know is the staff down there at all levels are working extremely hard to deliver the best care for every person that might need it, be it in an emergency or non-emergency basis. They are working their butts off down there, and this is about supporting them and ensuring that they have a hospital of its status and a greater status to work in into the future. A caller says, we have a contributory pension scheme in Ireland. If you're educated in Ireland, education should be free, and you should be obliged to stay here for 5 years. There's no such thing as government money. It's taxpayers' money. Indeed. And is it just sort of a trend on this programme over the last couple of weeks whereby people are talking more about, you know, people who are qualified in this country to sort of be obliged to stay working here for a period of time? Because the feeling I got in the past that people weren't in favour of that, but I'm starting to get a sense now that maybe more people are in favour of that. I don't know. Hi, Greg. Absolute disgrace this morning. Ordered one Hill ticket through my club. This is for the game, of course, and they couldn't source it. Heard only 65% were allocated to all clubs. Why were the tickets released so quick on Ticketmaster before clubs got their allocation? Kick in the teeth for paying members. Disgrace on the GEA. I'm not sure what the story is with the tickets. I think Ticketmaster might be releasing some more tickets this week. I'm not really quite sure. So have all the clubs received their allocations? Any more information in relation to that? I mean, it's a big old ground. I think Ticketmaster was sort of selling tickets further back early on. I'm not sure if they're going to release what some might see as better tickets this week. And I'm not sure really if 65% for clubs seems a lot. You know, there should be enough tickets for interest. Should there be? Let us know. 086 60 25,000. The boy who cried wolf. I mention this every single summer. It is temporary speed limits outside schools. They're really, really important, but please switch them off when the schools are closed. I understand that maybe if it's a bank holiday, public holiday, it might be more complicated, but they're closed for the summer. And what happens is you get a full summer of people conditioned to ignore them because they know the school's closed. Then the schools reopen. We need to switch those lights off so that when they come back on at September, people notice them or late August it is now, people notice them and they heed them. So please, this relates to Mahara Beg School, switch the flashing lights off, the reduced speed limits off in the summer. I'm not sure if it's the council, if it's the school, or any other schools still displaying the reduced speed limits at certain times during the day. It has to be switched off in the summer because when the kids come back at the end of next month, the start of September, we want the lights coming back on not to be a familiar thing to ignore if you're a driver, but something that you need to pay heed to. Any information on that? 08660 25,000.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with the award-winning Lennon Festival Ramelton. Join us Monday, July 14th for the festival's grand finale, featuring ABBA Sensations Live, followed by a spectacular fireworks display. For the latest festival updates, follow Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
Since I switched to Hidden Hearing, I can hear it all. You could save up to €3,000 off invisible hearing aids. Save when you switch to us, upgrade, or save on your very first hearing aids. Pre-phone 1-800-370-000. Switch and save at hiddenhearing.ie. You should go to the hearing experts. T's and C's apply.
July stock reduction sale now on at Sweeney's Home Value, Lettermike Award and Derrybeg, with up to 50% off across all product line departments, including agriculture, building, electrical, plumbing and heating. But hurry, these offers are only available while stocks last at Sweeney's Home Value, Lettermike Award and Derrybeg.
Brian McCormick Sports. Summer sale is now on. Click on bmcsports.ie. Up to 50% off. Brooks, Asics and Hoka footwear. In-store and online. Women's Adidas clothing. Save 30% on tops, tees and matching bottoms. Adidas and Puma football boots clearing up to 50% off. Summer sale now at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny. Or click on bmcsports.ie for next day delivery.
Plan something new at the start of the year? Well, who hasn't? Now's your second chance with the 252 registrations at iMotors. Take the wheel of the iconic Qashqai, the bold X-Trail, the sporty Juke, or go electric with the stunning Nissan Ariya. They're here and they're waiting for you. Visit imotors.ie today.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Ours to Protect is back on the airwaves this Wednesday after the 8 o'clock news. This month, we're diving deep into the beauty of our coastline and what it truly means to keep it clean. So join me, Donna Marie Doherty, and the insightful young minds of Donegal as we explore the impact of litter on our shores and elsewhere, the incredible efforts being made to protect them, and what we can do to keep it in tip-top shape. Ours to Protect is brought to you by Highland Radio, the IBI, and is funded by Commission Amman with a television licence fee.
Now, you're very welcome back to the programme, and in studio with me now we have the leader of Aintu, Deputy Peadar Tobin. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for calling in to us.
Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity.
Where are we at? Where are you at, I should say, with the party, Peadar? You know, you've got a really high profile. You seem to be on the TV quite a bit, which is good. I think it's, well, maybe not as much as you'd like, right? But in other words, you know, people know who you are. They know about the party, and you're still sitting around about 5 or 6%. Are you in the national polls? Like, that's impressive for a relatively young party. But have you had the breakthrough you'd anticipate? You know, with the information that you get out there, with your, you know, you're heavily quoted from the Dáil. You do appear on some radio, TV, etc. Why do you think you haven't sort of broken beyond that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I will say that we're very happy with the development of the party over the last 6 years. Starting up a new political party from scratch is virtually impossible in Ireland, given the way the system is built. And yet, in the last election, Aintu had the highest increase of votes of any political party in the country. And I think that's not to be sneezed at. Secondly, obviously, we increased our representation in the Dáil. We got a first-time breakthrough in the Seanad. We've increased our number of councillors around the country. So I think we're sitting at a threshold now in which you'll see a bonus in terms of votes happening over the next while. Because the political system is often built that there's nearly a minus vote bonus, if you like, for parties at the very start. But once you get into the 5, 6, 7%, well, then you see yourself getting into potentially dozens of seats into the future. And our aim is to get into the double figures in terms of seats in the next general election. There's about at least 4 constituencies where we just missed out in Dáil seats in the last election. And we're in a good place. So, you know, you mentioned 5 or 6%. That's up from 4% just in November's election. Mm-hmm. If we keep that trend going, we can get into maybe up towards the 10% by the next general election.
Yeah, and parties come and go. I mean, you certainly get the sense that Aintu's here to stay. That's
and that's another difference. And I will say this, and people mightn't see, it's kind of like what's happening under the bonnet. In terms of the party, we have 60 functioning common across the country, 2,000 members, all active in their local areas. And Donegal is a prime example of that. Really good local organisation campaigning on issues such as defective blocks, on issues such as the hospital, on issues such as the A5 road, and on the fact that the Dublin government treats Donegal like an island in many ways in terms of investment, in terms of infrastructure. So, you know, having that on the ground organisation is really, really key. And we're actually going in a different direction. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and the larger parties are finding that their on the ground membership is actually falling by the wayside while we're building it up. And I think that bodes well for the future.
Yeah. What does the party stand for?
I suppose the party stands for...
I'll do a longer question next time so you can have a drink of coffee.
The 3 objectives obviously from the start have been kind of life, Irish unity and economic justice. And I suppose in many ways we're different from the other political parties. If you like, the other political parties have stood pretty much on the same spectrum of political thought. We have challenged that. So we were the only party, for example, to push against the hate speech laws in the Dáil. We're the only party to stand up for the right to life. We're the only party to push back in terms of a whole range of different issues. The referendum's just gone by. So we've actually probably cut a niche out for ourselves as a party that's not afraid to challenge the political establishment, the hegemony that exists in the Dáil on a range of different issues.
Just in relation to an issue like the right to life, for an example, you know, say for instance you did get up to the double figure seats, the only way you would get into power really would be to go into a coalition. And I mean, say for instance, revoking the abortion laws would never be on the cards. I don't think as part of any coalition agreement. So, like, could you find yourself building up to a certain point and then sort of being seen as a sellout on the red line issues if you were ever to try and get into power?
So, first of all, it's 10,000 abortions are happening at the moment on an annual basis. And for most people, they didn't expect that to happen when they voted in the referendum back in 2018. So we understand that it's not going to be a switch system that a party gets in and, as you say, completely changes the law straight away. First of all, and people might know this, but 85% of abortions actually happen in this country because women feel that they don't have the economic confidence to be able to have their child. So for economic and social reasons, abortions are happening. So our first objective is actually we want to be able to ensure that mothers do have the economic confidence to be able to raise their children. So there's about 600,000 children in poverty at the moment. We want a second child benefit put into place, which would actually give mothers on low incomes the confidence to be able to have their child and to raise their child to the full potential. We want far more supports to be given to mothers economically in terms of housing, in terms of social welfare, in terms of educational supports. And we believe actually we can take that figure from 10,000 a year down much below that. The other aspect that we would like to tackle in this Dáil is the fact that children, let's say, who are diagnosed with Down syndrome in the womb are far less likely now to make it to term. And actually, in many countries, 90% of children with...
Do you have the statistics on that in Ireland?
Yeah, well, in Ireland, and this is the unfortunate issue, because we asked the government to record that in terms of abortions, but when the legislation was passed in 2018, they refused to. So they don't put in any checks in terms of...
So you sense that, you don't know that?
Well, we know that Masters in the Rotunda Hospital has actually... The person who's in charge of the Rotunda Hospital has stated that in 90% of the cases in his hospital, it is the case that parents are making decisions not to go to term with a child with Down syndrome. So we know that on a hospital basis, but because of the government's refusal. So what I'm saying to you is this. While I do understand that the switch is not going to be there for any party in the immediate future, what we can do, I think, is probably find at least some common ground with other political parties to reduce the number of abortions that happen and to protect those children with disabilities.
What's your views, what's the party's stance on immigration?
Yeah, so we are a party that believes, one, that there should be a stricter system of immigration in this country. And again, if we're honest, Aontú has been the only political party in the Dáil over the last 5 or 6 years who has articulated that view. We do believe that if a person is fleeing war and violence, that we should do our best to provide shelter for them. We would like a system very similar to the Danish system. And what the Danish have done there is they've made it so strict in their country that the word has gone out internationally that there's no point in going to Denmark if you are a economic migrant looking to use the iPass system in terms of getting into a country. And this state, it is incredible as well because we're such a small party in many ways, but all of the information on the immigration system that's out there, at least 90% of it, is as a result of Aontú parliamentary questions. We mined that whole system when people didn't know anything about it.
In terms of those coming here genuinely fleeing war or persecution, is there an upper limit on that? So say, for instance, there were no, in inverted commas, economic migrants. Is there an upper limit on how many people fleeing conflict or persecution or whatever it might be?
So right now there's about 13,000 to 15,000 people coming into the state. We believe we can get that figure down to 3,000-4,000 on an annual basis if the system is built strictly. And even if you listen to Jim O'Callaghan's figures recently, he's stating that 80% of people who are applying now are actually failing the first iPass application. And that's incredible because that figure's jumped enormously. It used to be about 20 or 30% in the early days of Helen McEntee's time in the Department of Justice, and it's increased now to 80%. And the reason it's increased is because of the hyper pressure that the likes of Jim O'Callaghan is coming under. And actually, it shows one thing as well. It shows that the system wasn't put into place properly in the first place under the last government.
Is there any upper limit on people coming from different countries to work here on visas? You know what I mean? So say, for instance, to meet whatever employment needs we might have. It could be construction, it could be in healthcare, it could be in IT, AI, whatever it might be. Does your party have any upper limit on how many people could come here legally with work visas, for example?
So again, we're the only party saying that there has to be a reduction in the legal work visas that are issued on an annual basis.
Why?
Because of the capacity within the state to deal with the people coming into the country. So last year, about 80,000 visas, be they work visas or holiday visas, well, not holiday visas, work visas, visit visas or student visas were issued.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, about 30,000 of those were student visas, and people forget about those. And like, fantastic, I'd love for people to come and study in this country. But right now, we're in a housing crisis that means that we have to be careful. So we're not saying shut down.
But where our students are going, they're in a housing crisis as well. You know, we have a lot of people head over to Poland, for an example. You know what I mean? They don't have an abundance of homes.
Yeah.
Australia has its own housing crisis.
They do, but a lot of these people, a lot of the reasons why now Irish students are going abroad is because of the housing crisis in the state and the cost of living in the state. So I do believe that essential workers should be given work visas in this state. Our hospitals, our nursing homes.
Is there a limit on that?
Well, we do want to get it down to about 20,000 or less a year in terms of essential workers, and we're saying that at a time of a crisis in housing, at a time where people can't get GPs, at a time where people are finding it hard to get their kids into schools, at the time where hospitals are finding it really hard to deal with the number of people coming into.
Is it morally correct to sort of say, right, you can come over here from a foreign country, if I could put it like that, and you can treat the indigenous population plus in inverted commas, but you can't come here to work because you can't come here to work outside of that space because you'd be putting pressure on the very facilities that you're helping to keep running in this country. Is that morally just?
First of all, if you look at all of those visas that are going out, at least 70% of them are not for essential workers. And that's really key. So if you were to cut out the non-essential workers' visas, you would still have the people coming in you need.
But we're at 100% employment, so presumably all of them are essential.
Well, we would see.
Not
We would see the two areas of essential we would see is housing, the construction of housing, and healthcare. And that's where there's difficulties in it. But it is. I think it's absolutely fine for a Western society to see we have gaps in this particular element in terms of the workforce, gaps in that particular element in the workforce. We are going to assign only work permits for those areas. That's an absolutely just thing for a Western country to do. But I will say, isn't it amazing in terms of the pressure that's put on all of those services and facilities that Aontú's the only political party in Leinster House that is actually openly saying, let's actually reduce the number of these visas that are issued until we get our house in order. Like just on purely economic terms, people like Dan O'Brien, who'd be like a very highly regarded economist in this country, these people are saying that it's just simple economics, that if you have a really high level of demand coming in and there's a real problem in the delivery of services, well then that's going to jack up the prices and make it more difficult for people to access those services. And we're not saying that it's the people who are coming into the country whose fault it is that those services like housing, etc., are not being provided. That's the government's responsibility and fault. We're just saying match demand and supply for the moment.
Do you agree with the anti-immigration protests?
I have a little bit of difficulty with some of the protests. I first of all understand that many people who are attending those protests are ordinary, common, decent individuals who are finding it so frustrated they find no other ways to communicate. But I do think that this is a sensitive issue still, and like at the back of my head is the understanding that every day in this country there is a person with black skin or brown skin at a bus stop, and individuals are going up to them and telling them to go get back to their own country.
Some of them are second or third generation.
People born here, and just this is a heartbreaking situation. I know of a young man who's a member of our organisation. He's black. He's 15. He comes often to our protests about neutrality or whatever. And when he's in those photographs, social media literally descends upon him and accuses him of replacing other Irish individuals when he's not. He's actually born and bred in this country. And he's added to his parents have worked in this country for decades. So that's why I believe that this issue needs to be discussed very sensitively. There are people with great frustrations, real frustrations and valid frustrations. But when we deal with this, we need to make sure that we deal with it in a respectful manner in which we don't put people in pressure.
Do you have any issue with Aontú members attending these protests?
Well, first of all, we're a broad church, and unlike political parties and probably my own political history, we don't put shackles on individuals. And we're always going to have a space enough and flexibility enough for people to be able to make their own decisions, and that's fine. But we do make a party decision, and as a result, the party will decide whether or not to go to these. And the last point I would say in those, that just key to any protests is usually there's a committee that comes together. All the parties that are participating joins that committee. It's then decided what the protest is actually seeking and who else is going to be speaking. That's not happening in these, and that's why, as for a corporate decision as a party, we're not attending those protests at the moment. But in fairness, we have a public meeting today in Donegal, in Letterkenny, which will address the issue of immigration. I did another meeting in Carrickmacross a couple of weeks ago, which has addressed the issue of immigration. So we're having meetings across the country.
Just one question on immigration. What would you do? Is there anything retrospective action you might take in terms of those that are in this country right now? And how would you differentiate between one or another?
I believe, obviously, that given the fact that there has been a differential between the number of people who are failing asylum applications currently and those who did in the past, I do believe that it could be the case in the future that individuals, after they spent 5 years, and of course asylum is not a permanent decision, that you could have a situation where people maybe reapply and decisions are made again into the future in their circumstances. Key for us, though, right now at the moment is to make sure that those who have failed the asylum process are actually returned to their own country. And that's been one of the big gaps, one of the big mistakes that the government has made, where 70, 80, 90% of people who have actually failed the system, gone through a really expensive system, have been just allowed to stay.
And just one final question on protests, just people are interested in your views on some of the phraseology I'm not even comfortable using, but do you believe, do you have concerns about a religious, cultural replacement?
No, I don't use the word religious cultural replacement, and I do find, like, I'm a practicing Catholic myself, and I do find sometimes people who use that language maybe never darkened the day of a church themselves. And I know plenty of people who've come into this country who are people of strong faith, etc.
So you don't know someone's background. People are judging people on their appearance, but they have no knowledge.
No, like a lot of the people from India that are coming here are from a location called the Kerala, and there are people who are with a Catholic faith. Anyways, Aintu is a Republican political party, and Republicanism is built on the whole idea of wolf tone, and that means that to have cohesion in a country, you do need to have a system whereby people of different backgrounds and different spaces can be who they are to their full extent without fear or favour. That is the only way to have a cohesive society. If there's a dem in us in society, there will be a breakdown in society, and it will lead to tensions and difficulties, and that's the last thing we want.
I've got 7 or 8 messages attributing the word mongrel to Mary T. Sweeney in an edited Facebook post. I can only imagine you don't condone such language.
No, so I didn't see the post. My understanding that Mary T. was referring to a statement by Micheál Martin, in which Micheál Martin said, and this may be incorrect, I know there was a television show on RTÉ as well, and the idea was that these shows and the people who contribute to them stated that we've always been a
I remember
country.
that. I have seen that.
So it's not a case in any way. So I think Mary T. was referring to what she felt was a very negative stereotyping of Irish people by this television show.
Understood.
Rather, she was not giving any remarks to anybody else in this country.
The meeting tonight, I suppose, open to all interested parties. Maybe people. I'm not here banging the drum for Aintu, but I'm just trying to phrase it. Seems to be good enough to come in. Obviously there are people that are interested in Aintu, but maybe there are those, maybe 40, 35%, maybe so disenfranchised they don't bother voting at all. Interested in people coming, asking questions, even if they're challenging questions, or is this just Aintu thinking?
So listen, first of all, we are a movement that wants to listen to the people for a start. And, that's one of the big problems with the political system, is that the grassroots issues are not getting to the decision makers. Secondly, many of the best meetings that we've done on these have actually been with people with very different views from us who have actually challenged us significantly. But it gives us an opportunity to actually set out our stall properly. And the third issue, we are a view that a party that, the competition of ideas actually means that the best ideas percolate to the top and become policy. So this is not about, shutting people down or not allowing people to speak. And I think that Donegal is in a particularly difficult situation. And, the healthcare situation is going to come up tonight in terms of the meeting. I just think it's absolutely frustrating that there's an article today, I believe, in one of the newspapers, which indicates that waiting times for cancer treatment is at the longest level here in Letterkenny at the moment. We know, obviously, that Letterkenny is suffering in terms of the surgical...
Just in relation to all of that, and I know you're across all the issues, but is any political party not just tinkering around the edges? Talk about housing. We don't have water and we've nowhere to pump the poo. In terms of health, we've been banging on. We've got 171 medical professionals saying what we need. The HSE is saying, no, you don't need this. You don't need that. You need this. We've got the defective blocks concrete crisis with all the people campaigning for 100% redress, and yet still it seems it's the Department of Housing and other civil servants that will tell us, what really the scheme is going to be and how we'll access it. Can a political party really, in honesty, affect any change, even in power, as the main party or as a coalition partner?
The culture of Aontú is radically different than the culture of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. I honestly believe that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are passengers on the bus that is the bus of state. So in other words, they allow for the civil service to run the country, and then they simply just make arguments for what has gone wrong in the country. So in terms of the healthcare service, what we would like to see, and this is really, really transformative, we want to see a situation where money goes to each operation, each engagement, and each treatment, each element that a doctor helps a patient. Because what's happening at the moment is hospitals are paid anyways en bloc for the annual basis, and the money gets lost in layers and layers of administration and doesn't get to the front line. We believe that will be transformative. On accountability, and I've spoken to you on accountability a number of times before, we're radically different than the other political parties. We believe that where there is a mistake in terms of the delivery of a public service or an infrastructural project, and that mistake has cost money or slowed things down, we will actually make sure that there is accountability and people are fired in those terms. And that, again, will be transformative.
Yeah, but I can't speak to Mary T. Sweeney's motivation on using the word mongrel, but you talk about accountability, and you had a very well prepared Irish look at it was a quote and stuff.
No.
You know what I mean? So, how could I trust you to do national accountability, right? When you just brush over
I'm not
comment
brush-
hear me. That's just one word, and it was like Irish, it was on the telly.
No.
You claim you're going to get people sacked because a big project's going awry.
So basically, the televisions put out a show which stated that the Irish are a mongrel race. Okay, Mary T does not agree that the Irish are a mongrel race, and when she quoted that, she was critiquing the RTE show. So other people picked it up as if she was using the word mongrel to refer to immigrants. So what we're trying to do here is saying that she's not. There's a confusion in relation to that. And that's that. So if there was a situation where she used that word in terms of migrants, the party would be down on any person like a ton of bricks in those
Mary
terms.
T was on the show today and his platform the show. I'm not having a go.
Yeah.
But this is all stuff that can be teased out at the meeting tonight. You're very clear on the defective blocks. I think you've mentioned before that you would endorse 100% redress. And I suppose when you talk about the money following the patient and the spending being per patient, that means, Letterkenny would benefit, as would every hospital, if you were able to follow through on that. And of course, mental health is a big issue in this county and country as well. And I know that's going to be a topic.
Yeah, there's only, I understand there's 36 psychiatric beds in the county currently, which is not near enough. The supports in the community are not there in terms of CAMS, in terms of CDNT. Children who have mental health issues are not getting the supports that they need. And the other transformative element that is different than us, the other major political parties are Dublin-based parties. Like the majority of their ministers, or the greater part of their ministers, are living in the greater Dublin area at the moment. And if you look at the investment, most of the investment is going into the greater Dublin area. Very few of those TDs can actually see outside of the M50. I'm the chairperson of the Save Navan Hospital campaign. I'm the chairperson of the Meath on Track campaign. I see the differences that these infrastructures make in terms of this. Right now, the spatial development of this country is a mess, and you know this as well as anybody else. Draw a line from Dublin to Galway, and then pretty much most of the infrastructure is missing in the northern half of the country. And the last point I will say here as well on this is that The reason why the Dublin government sees Donegal as an island is in part because of partition as well, in that the hinterland of Donegal is cut off from it. And, you know, obviously there's another political party, Sinn Féin, who supports the issue of Irish unity. But in fairness, for a small party, we are campaigning on it significantly. We want to vote for Northerners in the presidential elections. We want to give the right for Northern MPs to speak in the Dáil, to participate in committees in Leinster House. So, you know, rather than just get out on the street and have a protest for a referendum, we are looking at ways of taking down each block of that border on an individual basis.
All right, interesting. Much more conversation in the Clanry Hotel tonight at 8 p.m. Mental health, defective blocks, immigration and more. Aintu leader Peadar Tobin will be there, of course, as will other Aintu reps. Peadar, thanks very much for your time. I do appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity.
The 9 till Noon Show, proudly sponsored by the award-winning Lennon Festival Ramelton. Now in full swing. This weekend, catch headline acts: Honour, Queen Tribute, Tumblin' Paddies and ABBA Sensations. For tickets, search Lennon Festival on Eventbrite.
It's the 50% off mega summer sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, outdoor porcelain tiles, cladding and bathware. Everything in store has been slashed in price. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 50% off mega summer sale. Stores nationwide. Sale ends Sunday.
Donegal. Thinking of cutting your energy bills or upgrading your home? DLDC and Mount Lucas are bringing the Retrofit Roadshow to you. Join us in Dunloe July 14th to 18th and Letterkenny July 21st to 25th. Free sessions for homeowners. Learn how to boost your BER, upgrade your insulation and access SEAI grants. One-day certified training for tradespeople. Future-proof your skills in NZEB retrofitting. Places are limited. Book now at dldc.org or call 074 9127056. DLDC, bringing energy expertise to your doorstep.
Connolly's Audi Sligo is bringing the showroom to you. Join us on Canal Road, Letterkenny from July 14th to 19th for the 252 Audi All-Access Test Drive event. Experience the thrill of driving the all-new Audi A5, the impressive Audi Q7 or the refined Audi A6 all in one place. Explore our full range of petrol, diesel, plug-in hybrid and fully electric Audi models. Don't miss this chance to test drive your dream car with Audi Sligo. To book your appointment, call 071 911 5333 or visit connellys.ie.
Get ready to dance the weekend away at the Highland Radio Country Music Weekend in the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny from October 31st to November 2nd. 2 nights, 1 dance floor and some of Ireland's biggest country stars. Michael English, Patrick Feeney, Stacey Breen, Jordan McPollan and I'll be there too, David James and lots more to be announced. You can enjoy 2 nights bed and breakfast plus tickets to both dances. That's the Highland Radio Country Music Weekend. Spaces are limited, so book now online at highlandradio.com or clanryhotel.com.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Okay, let's see what the weather forecast has in store for us. And today, well, a dry day for most, though the further west you are, you might see a little bit of patchy rain. Fairly breezy and a northwest wind. Temperatures of 14 to 20 degrees.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, coming up shortly, Brendan Devaney will be joining us to preview an extra special DL debate tonight. We'll tell you more about that in a mo. But first, at 9:02, let's get a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty. Sorry, 11:02, I beg your pardon. Sorry, go ahead, Donna Marie.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The funeral mass for the mother and daughter that died in a car crash last week in North Donegal is due to get underway in an hour's time. A large turnout is expected at the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh. A 6-year-old Ella McLaughlin and her mum Natalie are laid to rest. Burial will be afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Letterkenny University Hospital says they have created 4 additional treatment bays to increase cancer treatment capacity. It emerged in a Journal Investigates report this morning that Letterkenny had the poorest performance in hitting the target that should see oncology patients being treated within 15 working days of diagnosis. The HSE says there's also long-term plans, including an ambulatory centre. Today marks 11 weeks since St Mary's Church in Derrybeg burned down. News broke on Easter Monday morning that the blaze broke out. It was later determined that there was no foul play. A great fundraising effort by the local community has seen tens of thousands of euro raised to see the new church erected, and parish priest Father Braden O'Farry says they're now seeking out architects. Donegal County Council is being warned that if development is not allowed at Fawn Marina, then an opportunity to substantially increase the area's tourism infrastructure and visitor numbers will be lost. Speaking at a recent meeting in his own municipal district, Hirloch, Paul Canning said there is a proposal on the table to improve facilities and develop a hotel at the marina there. However, he says efforts by the council to amend the county development plan in order to facilitate that have been blocked at national level. And finally, prosecutions are needed to crack down on the illegal modification of e-scooters, according to a Fine Gael TD. New regulations were introduced last May, saying owners may not modify electric scooters in a manner which compromises the safe use of the vehicles. However, a year on, there hasn't been a single prosecution. Deputy Barry Ward, who's an e-scooter user, says more enforcement is needed to tackle the issue. That's all for now. Back with more headlines at 12 noon.
Thank you, Donna Marie, and we're back with more. We're back with more in the 9 till noon show after this break.
Highland Bakery brings the magic to your morning tea break. Golden scones, still warm, soft in the middle and impossible to resist. Look for the packet with the rabbit on it. Fresh from the oven to your local shop. 25 years of Highland Bakery.
Great news for Lidl shoppers. We've introduced Lidl points on the Lidl Plus app. Earn points every time you shop. Then simply cash them in for money off vouchers or your favourite items for free. The more you shop, the more you save. Scan the new and improved Lidl Plus app today. T's and C's apply.
How we use electricity can be smarter, cleaner and greener. At Electric Ireland, we can help guide you there.
You're looking up.
You see, our new Net Zero Hub has all you need to know about smart meter plans, EV tariffs, solar panels, and much more. Making your usage clearer, your trips greener, your home cozier, and your world brighter. Find our Net Zero Hub at electricireland.ie.
This July 18th and 19th, Gidor comes alive with Salt Music Festival 2025. On Saturday 19th, experience The Stunning, the Sharon Shannon Big Band with Garen Noon, the Luke Combs Experience, and many more. For more information and tickets, go to saltfela.ie. Salt Music Festival 2025. 2 days, one place, great music.
I had problems with my knees for about 7-8 years. I think I'd give Kingsbridge 5 stars just because of the support and help that they gave me before and after the surgery. I was a public patient and the HSE reimbursed the cost.
Republic of Ireland residents can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
The 9 till noon show with the award-winning Lennon Festival Ramelton. Now until July 14th. This weekend, enjoy Honour, Queen Tribute, Tumblin' Paddies and ABBA Sensations. Plus family fun and entertainment for everyone. For full details, see Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
Right, now, to the Mary T Post. An Irish professor had said that... the Irish were mongrels. And I'm not sure if this is off the back of Micheál Martin. He said that the Irish were never a homogenous group. So that's in other words, I suppose a nation of people that have a bloodline that has always been the same. So there has been some criticism of a post that Mary T. Sweeney put up on June 22nd. And I'm going to have to say, I always want to be very fair on this program. And the post that she wrote was "Flying the flag before the take it off was proud to be Irish, not a mongrel in sight." Now, my understanding of that, my reading of that, if I had read that, I would not. She's talking about that the Irish aren't mongrels, as was claimed by a professor. I think what people are perceiving is that she's standing with other Irish people and there's not, say, someone of a different nationality there, and she's not saying they're mongrels and they're not there. So, to be honest with you, given the fact that a professor said that we were a nation of mongrels, effectively, what Mary T. Sweeney there was clearly saying is that she's Irish, the person she's standing there with is Irish, and they're not mongrels. So I see that as a defence of Irishness, to be honest with you. I don't see that as any criticism of any other nationality or race, because I know the context of the mongrel comments, and I'm just being completely honest and fair. It was 1 month ago where this professor claimed we were mongrels, and that the Taoiseach says we were not or never a homogenous group. And as I say, just to recap, flying the flag before they take it off us, proud to be Irish, not a mongrel in sight. So she's saying the people at that were not mongrels, as were described by a professor. So this is a reference to Irish-only people, not someone who isn't Irish. And that's my honest take on it. It's a defence of Irish people being called mongrels, not describing another group of people as a mongrel. That's, as I say, just the would be my instant interpretation of that. And as I say, we always promise to be as fair as possible on this show, and I think that would be my fair assessment. All right, Brendan Devaney's joining me in 30 seconds.
Will you have a pint, Gareth?
Sure, I can always take the quiet road home.
John has just seen Gareth order a pint. He knows his friend is planning to drink and drive. Should he say something, or just let it slide? Again.
Hey, cheers, John.
Oh, yeah. Cheers, man.
Drink driving kills. Don't let your friends drink and drive. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
The DL debate is on the road tonight, live from the show's sponsors, Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, previewing the All-Ireland football semi-finals, as Donegal go in search of a fourth ever All-Ireland final appearance. Isn't it? It's great, isn't it, Brendan, after everything this season and in previous seasons, that here we are able to build up to a semi-final that at worst for us is a 50-50, I think.
Yeah, listen, and I suppose the bookies will have us as favourites, Greg, but there's not many weekends I get off. Or Longford wouldn't normally be a holiday destination for us Donegal folks, but there's a wee place called Centre Parks. So it's the only weekend, Greg, where I could guarantee you could have a wee bit of free time. So we shot down here at the weekend. They have a bit of relax because.
And when did you win the lotto?
Yeah, listen, it's just one of them things.
I priced 4 days, 1,800 quid.
Do you know what? you're getting skinned down here, but it is what it is. Tell me you're not getting skinned at the minute. I was chatting to a fella. I actually met the fella that runs Crow Park Hotel there randomly. You meet so many random people down here, and we were talking about it. We said, listen, just let it roll when you're here. Because
do you know what? I'll tell you at the same time, I was looking at, sometimes when you're booking somewhere abroad, you start off and you look for one person, right? But when you're a family, so with us, it would be 5 people. You know, and you talk about
say you went, room.
Say you went to Salou and you talk about the flights and the transport. And I'll tell you one thing: all of a sudden, 1,800, a home from home, but not far from home, starts getting a bit bloody competitive, doesn't it? Because you do need to get a break. There's no point working what's off all year. You can't enjoy it a bit. It's lovely. We were down there. I was down there with the 2 boys, the 2 older boys, a couple of years ago. It was for the official opening. Didn't pay. It was fantastic. And Ali Sherlock was performing on a stage out in the lake and cycling around, and everyone at night was cycling on the bikes with the lights on, and it was magical. It was lovely.
We're at the 2 cars. Now, I had a 7-seater for a while, but to be honest, it still wouldn't have suited, because what we were able to do when we took the 2 Jeeps down was to take all the bikes and everything with us. So even with the 2 Jeeps, the 2 of them are packed. We have a bike rack. We have everything.
Did you book stuff? Because my big mistake is I didn't book zip lines, I didn't book this, and I didn't book that.
Yeah, I have a wife called Trasa who, fortunately for me, I actually every day I'm saying to her, "What are we doing next? What are we doing next?" I'm like one of the children here, Greg. I don't know. She booked everything. Yeah, sorry, I played no part in that at all.
Hey, come here. It takes all sorts. That's a partnership, isn't it? Right. So you're coming back up tonight, are you? Or someone else doing the show?
Yeah, this is the last day. So you're allowed to stay in here today. So we're mulling over another shot into this pool and that takes it out of you, these slides, and run about with the kids. So they're down at the wee beach area now. So I'm leaving shortly, Greg. Yeah, coming up the road. So I was just firming up there. We have a couple of spot prizes tonight. Actually, Evolve are sponsoring us a voucher, and Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure are sponsoring a jersey. So I thank him very much for that. So a couple of people will come tonight will get that as a wee gift
So
as well.
this is an open event as well, and it's all football. There's brilliant guests on the show as well. So go along and you're in with a chance to win some spot prizes and to sort of start your build up proper. So Donegal v Meath, we're probably going in as favourites. I think the worst we can look at is 50-50. So we're in a brilliant position for a semi-final. What's going to make the difference on the day, Brendan? Is it going to be our first half? Is it going to be, I don't know what?
Listen, if you analyse our competition there, as everybody said, if you give us a semi-final start of the season against Meath, you'd say, how did that even happen? They are the story of the championship, so we got to be wary of that. People are talking about obviously beating, Kerry, beating Galway, and beating Dublin as well, and Leinster. But when you break that down, I don't think the Kerry and Dublin games overly worry me, because as we've seen from Dublin, they were there to be got. We took them out of Croke Park. Meath went at them, actually walloped them. Kerry, the day they played them, they already were assured of qualifying. They were missing 6 players, and they underestimated Meath. Now, the Galway game is a bit different, I think, because Galway, even though they're having a poor season by their own standards, they just struggled to get out of the group on the last day. We thought their experience would come to the fore. I mean, they hit that 2-3 against Meath. I think therein lies a wee bit of a warning sign for Donegal people, because Meath withstood it. They come back, got a goal themselves, and they pushed on and eventually won the match by a point. So I think when you break down the 3 games, if Kerry were to play Meath now again in the semi-final, I think Kerry would definitely beat them. Now, Kerry's a team that's not been put ahead of us or whatever. So, again, not taking anybody for lightly, they are coming on the crest of a wave. They've got 2-point threats. Costello, it was interesting last night, Costello was named at 26 and Comer was named 26 for Galway. But Costello started and he had a key role for them. He's a brilliant inside man that drops in and out. Jordan Morris hit 160. They have huge men at midfield, Menton and O'Neill, which is a danger for us. And plus, I think, Sean Rafferty at fullback has probably been, outside of our own Finbar Rorty, who's a lot younger. Sean Rafferty's probably in his mid-20s. Very unusual. He's kind of come from nowhere. He's been one of the best players in the championship. Unbelievable full-back. So, listen, that's a real tussle probably him and Murphy are going to have. So, they have a lot of quality about them. Frayne inside as well. Kyogan, they have a bit of experience. But they've kind of come from kind of nowhere, Greg. So, listen, they're on a crest of a wave. They're coming kind of with nothing to lose. They know now at Croke Park they can match and beat a team like Galway. So they've been underdogs for all those games. They're going to be underdogs against us, but I don't think there's anyone that'll meticulously break them down the way we will. I don't think any of those teams were properly ready to play Meath. And I think Jim and his backroom team, Colm Neal, Luke Barrett in there, their attention to detail is second to none. So we have 2 weeks now to really break down this Meath team, try and nullify their threats. And listen, we'll go on there, as I say, confident.
Yeah, my only concern has got nothing to do with punditry, form, players, or nothing. I just hope that Donegal's not the second last chapter on the 2025 story of Meath, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But,
that's a warning. Yeah, definitely it's a warning. I mean, when you look at it, there's a lot of experience in this Donegal team that you would say that's why the Galway game when it was put up to them, they responded to it. So I think, they're going to come out swinging and they won't go away. So I think it'll be a titanic battle. I just looked at particularly at our second halves, the last few games. We have looked so good on the counter. Galway.
But Meath have shown more resilience than perhaps those teams we've turned over in the second half, which I wouldn't like to go in at half time against Meath 8 points, 6 points behind, even in the modern game.
Yeah, and it was really surprising, whatever about Louth, just how much Monaghan kind of fell away, and I know that was mostly to do with their unbelievable play. We camped them in and that. So Meath go old style. They want to long kick-outs and lash it in, if they can. They want to kick past it. So it'll be a wee bit of a contrast of styles. I think Jim very much trying to nullify that. And we, of course, will come with serious pace. We have been kicking it as well at times too, which is great to see. The team's evolving, but the pace that we have in the counter is unreal. So I think it'll be a wee bit of a game of two styles. And just then, whoever can come out on top of that. And you mentioned the fourth final ever, the common denominator in all them's, or Jim McGuinness. Obviously, he was on the squad in 92, and then he's been manager for the rest. So listen, he has huge experience in there as well that they don't have on their side of these situations. So we're hoping all these bits and pieces of experience come together for the semi-final.
And I mean, obviously, watching Donegal can be a nervous time. In a way, the Kerry-Tyrone game might be more enjoyable, if that makes sense, because you can just watch it and enjoy the spectacle of two great teams going at it at HQ. That's going to be it should be a cracker.
Yeah, we're going to wee bit of talk about that too. Yeah, that should be a cracker too. It's very hard to know now what Tyrone are going to come with. They've been very up and down. Like, I stayed on. It's funny you mention that, Greg, because after you're doing the commentary and you're caught up on the whole emotion of that Monaghan game, which really took us on a bit of a roller coaster, that I sat and watched the first half and then a bit of the second of the Tyrone game. And it was a real dead affair between them and Dublin. It was real drab, and I was looking around. Otherwise, sometimes you hear a couple of seagulls, and I was like, what is going on here? Like, is it just me, or was I caught up because I'm a Donegal fan? But that game was really, really poor, so we still can't get a read on Tyrone. But I think that's a danger for Kerry, because we've only seen fits and starts of Kerry, and Tyrone have the ability to shut them down a bit, and they're a good side. Very hard semi-final to call. Of course, Kerry will go on as favourites.
Yep, so the guests on the show tonight, Highland Radio pundit Brendan Kilcoyne, Michael McMullen of The Gaelic Life, and two All-Ireland winners from 92 and 2012, Anthony Malloy and Rory Kavanagh. Meath legend Graham Garrity will be on the show as well. There's spot prizes on the night. Get into the Monday Night Club and get along to Sister Sarah's tonight from 7 p.m. It's good fun. It's a good fun show. It's effectively seeing the live recording of a broadcast of a podcast, or you're watching a live broadcast. It's up to you, whichever way you want to cut it. But get along, and you could win some of those great prizes. And it's, of course, on the radio tonight from 7 p.m, and then will be part of our podcast platform very shortly thereafter. Before I let you go, do you mind me asking about your involvement? I heard something on the news this morning about a group of Palestinian children coming to Ireland for a trip. I think it's very much associated with the GEA. I didn't hear the whole article, but I understand you might be involved in that. Can you tell me anything about it, Brendan?
Yeah, Greg, listen, like most people know, the absolute horrors of what's happening in Gaza and happening to Palestinian people in general is just, it's finally coming completely out to the fore. And, you know, I think most Irish people that you see out there are absolutely disgusted with what's going on, and not just with what's happening, which is the most evil thing I have ever seen played out. It's the attitude of the world in terms of media and how much that the Israeli lobbyists have bought the governments of this world. I mean, it's an absolute disgrace. You know, I was even listening to Ciara Kelly last week on News Talk, and her attitude towards agents of evil from Israel. They've been on, I swear, Greg, I'll try not to put the show on anyway because I'm a Highland man, but sometimes Strass will have it on in the morning, and I was sending in messages to say, you know, this guy come on absolutely insulting Irish people, like calling them like the usual oil, anti-Semitic, complete nonsense out there when children are being blown away, maimed, you know, murdered, you know, systematically murdered. And what's going on there just, I think, breaks the heart of anybody that's any morals. And yet our leaders, particularly, you know, von der Leyen in Europe, you know, you look at the weapons supply across from America, the Germans supplied 30% of the weapons into Israel, the British, and how now that everybody's in the pockets of these Israeli people. And I think through that, you know, we've looked at ways of how do we can help these people. You know, you can post, you can try and get the truth out there. You try and obviously send some money out there, but where does the money go? They're blocking aid convoys, they're starving these people. So listen, I'm just like, it just kills me every day, and I just don't see enough action there. And this group come up then, I was at a Free Palestine march in Derry one day across the bridge, and I met some people in there, actually know through the GA, and we were talking about this. There's a possible trip coming up for some Palestinian kids. Now, the whole press release of this has come out yet, Greg, so I don't want to go into the whole thing yet because I don't want to steal anybody's thunder on it, because I'm only a bit part player. And I said to them, listen, I would be honoured to do anything for these kids. Now, they're going to come to Donegal for a couple of days. I've already been on to some local businesses, and I want to support and promote them whenever it's done, just to say, can they come into your business? Can we do something, activity? These kids are between, I think, 9 to 16, but most of them, I think, are 15 to 16. They've got some mentors with them. So they're all from the West Bank. Obviously, they can't get out of Gaza, but even in the West Bank, what they're doing there around breaking up communities and putting up all these barriers and making people wait hours to go to work and school, they're slowly ripping the community apart so they can, you know, they can go in and take all the land and put these people off their own land. So these kids are coming over now. The GA have got behind it in Ireland, Greg, and some of the things that are already starting to roll are absolutely fantastic. But they're going to be up here. They're going to be in Letterkenny today. They will be out at Donald Park. They will be staying down in Dunlewy as well. And I was on the Goodore GA and on the St. Eunan's GA, some of my friends there. So we're building a wee itinerary together for them, Greg. But as I say, the big post of what the work they've done in the background, that's still to come, Greg. So maybe by next week, I think that'll be all launched. And I can fill you in on some of the details.
But people can keep an eye on it. And a lot of what you're saying there will resonate with a lot of people listening to this show as well. Whatever anyone's involved in.
Yeah.
We can't have a situation where we look on as young kids are blown to pieces. You can talk about all the other stuff above that, but, and innocent women, innocent children, innocent men, for that matter as well. This collective responsibility, punishment, this annihilation of a state, of a people, and as you say, kind of brushed under the carpet. If the truth be told, it really is quite shocking because people look back at what happened to the Jewish people, ironically, as if how could something like that ever happen? And at the same time, they're watching it unfold live on their tellies and on their phones.
Yeah, it's Zionism. It's so unfair because people then, the Jewish people, and you've seen loads of them that voted for that mayor of New York who's Muslim. You've seen loads of Jewish people out protesting because they realise that, listen, we are Jewish people. Your faith is supposed to be peace and love, not what's going on there. It's the Zionists that have taken control, and they've slowly now, as I say, bought their way through AIPAC and other people, like the hundreds of millions they've ploughed into the American politicians on both sides. And so the whole thing now is caught in a stranglehold of money.
Well, Benjamin Netanyahu seems to have uninterrupted access to the White House. He's just landing for his third visit there. Donald Trump unsolicited massive endorsements of him. It's really quite remarkable to watch on, and maybe in 60 years' time, people will look back and go, how did they allow that to happen? And here we are living in it. Okay, listen, Brendan, thanks very much indeed. Take care of yourself. Slán, Brendan Devaney live with the DL debate from Sister Sarah's in Letterkenny. Get along to that if you can. There'll be spot prices on the night. Great. There's always great banter when you get a few people together chatting sport, isn't there? And you can be part of that live broadcast / podcast recording.
The 9 till noon show with the award-winning Lennon Festival Ramelton. Join us Monday, July 14th for the festival's grand finale, featuring ABBA Sensations Live, followed by a spectacular fireworks display. For the latest festival updates, follow Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
The body is that of a 35-year-old. Significant lesions to the face, particularly the right temple, correlating to the intracranial hemorrhaging observed. Seatbelt abrasions clear across chest and abdomen, broken femur and tibia, right leg. Blood alcohol is over the legal limit. Cause of death, drink driving. Drink and drive, and it could be you on the mortuary slab. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who has the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'd be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'd be them. 07491 43942.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is €2,400 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo in Burnfoot tonight at 8:30.
Clarins Big Beauty Gift is back at McElhinney's. Purchase 2 Clarins products, one to be a moisturiser or serum, to receive a free trio of Clarins Summer Travel Essentials. Call in store or shop Clarins online at mcelhinneys.com to get your free beauty gift while stocks last.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
The time now is 27 minutes past 11. In studio with me is author Charlie Boyle, and he's got a book out. It's called The Future is Human, a practical roadmap for thriving, by mastering the most powerful technology of all, our humanity. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Greg.
It's great to have you with us. Right. So I suppose before we dig into it, in a nutshell, the book, what is it about?
Well, it's a look at the skills of the future, really. As 3 years ago, we got involved in a study which involved MIT in the States about future skills. Now, a lot of the study in Ireland has,
I'll just move this a little bit if you don't mind. Yeah. No, you don't have to lean into it. You're fine where you are.
So a lot of the study in Ireland in relation to future skills would have come out of Donegal with Retail Ireland SkillNet, who are based down in the CoLab in Letterkenny. But just looking at a broader sort of skills of the future and the work that I was doing in the area of customer service, there's basically three sectors: the product knowledge that you're going to require in any sector you're working in, or the expertise in that area, digital skills, and then human skills. And I suppose the anomaly or the contradiction is that most companies will say that human skills are going to constitute 50 to 60% of the skills that they require their workforce to have in the future. But education, learning and development doesn't match that proportionately. And I think we're second or third best in Europe at developing digital skills, yet digital skills comes in at about 15% of the skills of the future because they change so much. All you really need to be able to do is to work the digital, same as you're probably doing today. So your skills, for example, doesn't need to be 80-90% digital skills. Your human skill level would probably have to be quite high. And that's the same in the research, I suppose, that we're doing. But I wanted to, I suppose, write a book that highlighted the need for increased and a better way of developing human skills in the workplace, but I didn't want it to be too academic or too serious. So every time I went through the human skills that had come out of this MIT research, and we had done research here in Ireland as well, and I saw things like leadership or resilience or empathy, I was reminded of somebody closer to home, somebody in our locality like Murray O'Donnell, a shopkeeper, who, when we were young children and teenagers, had such an impression on so many people in the area. And when you look back at the skills that are being talked about, human skills, Murray had these in abundance. They were right under our feet. People like Tony Doherty, who founded our GA club, Niamh Murray GA club in West Donegal. Great vision, great passion, great belief, great empathy, listen to, everybody. And I just thought, okay, I can find out what these human skills are, and you can write about them in a global sense, but the examples are very often local. They're right under our feet.
How concerned then would you be that, and this is my perception, we platform and support young people on this show all of the time, but the one thing I do observe is often, but not uniquely, poor communication. What I also observe, and I've spoken to other business leaders and they see this too, a lack of resilience. That they find the working environment difficult, struggle to communicate in that environment. Are those life skills? Because and how important is it that we work on those? Because, as I say, our young people are fantastic, right? But I'm seeing an awful lot of that. And I just wonder, this seems to be in the space that you're talking we need to enhance, whereas I feel potentially, certainly with some, we're going backwards.
Yeah, very much so. And the evidence would suggest that. Now, the research isn't probably strong enough to back that up, but as you say, the anecdotal evidence.
Well, you speak to business leaders, that's what they'll tell you, and they're the people hiring and firing.
Exactly. So that communication level, I believe, is down to the system that is outdated. And I'm not going to be overcritical of it because there's benefits to it as well. But the Leaving Cert certificate is the same Leaving Cert certificate that it has been since I done it, whatever, 45 years ago, maybe even longer. But it's the same. It's the same principle. In other words, you go on, you do 5-6 years in a secondary school, and for 2 weeks, you're locked in a room and you're told to remember everything you learned for those previous 6 years, even though the content of that is maybe not as relevant to the modern world and, the world that we now live in. And if you added in the explosion of the smartphone, 2010 to 2014, we tooled up everybody with smartphones and we expected them to communicate the same way after that. And that's in decline. There's a fantastic book, The Best Evidence, comes from a book from a gentleman called Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation. And he relates the explosion of the smartphone to mental health and the inability, just as you said, the inability of younger people to communicate as well as they
Well,
did 20
my
years
concern is the next phase of this is AI. So, in terms of the smartphone, going backwards a little bit in communication, my concern is regardless of what education or leaving cert is in there, that we could actually go backwards in thinking. That as much as the phone in the hand is almost the majority communication, I just think that AI. I'll give you a perfect example. It was not a perfect example. It's probably a crap example, right? But I like to play darts, right? Easy work out the numbers, bish, bash, bosh, right? Got an auto dart system. The computer cancelled up for me, tells me I've got left. Didn't use that over the weekend. Threw a couple of darts. Couldn't work out what 73 from 101 is, right? And yet 5 months ago, I would, I did get there, but you know what I mean? Yeah. And I just wonder, I just wonder is what AI for it, not necessarily this generation, but this following couple of generations, what that's going to do in terms of their thinking. Actual processing of thoughts. How much are they going to be relying on something else to think for them, like we're almost relying on something else to communicate?
Yeah, and I think that's the great challenge, and that AI, as we know, is here. It's something we have to embed. I think the tide's already in that. Where can we look at human skills? The argument would be is as that technology increases and it replaces perhaps humans in certain areas, there is an opportunity to move the human up to a higher level of thinking and to improve their human skills so that they're able to make what's going to be decisions that are going to have to only be made by
How do we
humans.
get there, though? There's nothing to indicate we're even remotely considering how we might get there.
Well, I would say it's just listening to Brendan Devenney and the previous thing, it's about people voicing their opinion about it. Everybody doing 1% or everybody making the point to focus on these key human skills and not moving away from the argument, not just, succumbing to technology, because the danger with the digital environment is it becomes such a strong business that it nearly tries to convince us that we need the digital. But if we go back to what Steve Jobs said before he passed away, he said technology should be the enhancement of the human touch, not the replacement of it.
I'm going to take a break and I want to talk more about the book because I've kind of gone a bit more broadly. But what I'm seeing at the moment is people on social media engaging with AI as if it is real. And they're not actually, they don't believe it to be real. They're just engaging with it as if it were real. Right? Okay. Yeah. So they see a post on Twitter. They ask Grok, what's the context here? What does this mean? They're seeing AI generated videos and images and just presuming they're real.
Yeah.
What you're talking of, in other words, of what people need to do is, right, AI is going to deal with certain stuff. We need to upskill and enhance and work in other. I'm not seeing that. What I'm seeing at the very early stages is people at a very low intellectual level integrating in with the AI.
Yeah.
So the AI, they're treating other humans in that space the same as they are AI. They're trusting AI a bit more in terms of their opinions and guidance. And also, too, they're taking what's generated by AI as absolute fact. And it's spreading so quickly that the what is fact and what is fiction, actually, you will never put that genie back in the bottle. So my concern is that we're not going to... I just see us, many of us, integrating completely with AI, but being subservient to it.
Yeah, and I think
that's going to be the norm. I was born with that. Like we are with phones now.
Yes,
like that's what as kids are brought into that. I believe they're actually going to be subservient to AI, and AI is going to do more thinking. We're going to have even more dumbed down society.
Yeah, there is of course the danger of that as well, and I suppose what's happening, and just to follow on your point, when we're seeing stuff on social media now, the default is nearly not to believe at first, and then to find out the validity of that.
Well, that's critical thinkers.
Yeah, and that digital integrity, which again is another skill, to really, really challenge something that you're seeing. Not only the wave coming in and waving, taking people off the beach that you see, and oh my God, where did that happen? We're now going, okay, that didn't happen. That certainly didn't happen. But the integrity of the digital space is of huge importance. But it takes that critical thinking and problem solving and all the elements of the human skills to sort of not counteract it, but work work alongside.
All right, we're going to talk actually about the book, which obviously there's a crossover with some of what we're talking about. I was just interested in Charlie's views on some of my observations, but we're going to talk about that in just 2 minutes. Stay where you are. We'll be right back.
The 9 till Noon Show, proudly sponsored by the award-winning Lennon Festival Ramelton. Now in full swing. This weekend, catch headline acts: Honour, Queen Tribute, Tumbling Paddies and ABBA Sensations. For tickets, search Lennon Festival on Eventbrite.
Luxury is not merely seen or heard or even touched. True luxury is experienced. It lies in the minute details that elevate the ordinary into the extraordinary. It's quiet spoken, but leaves a lasting impression. You know it when you feel it. Luxury begins with L. Lexus. Experience amazing. Discover the all-electrified range at Lexus Letterkenny.
Attention dancing queens. On Saturday 12th of July, Jackson's Hotel Balbuffet presents Mamma Mia, the live experience, starring the Dynamos Tribute performing all your favourite ABBA hits. Gather your dancing queens, grab your Prosecco and say I do, I do, I do to the ultimate feel-good evening. Tickets $28.50. Book online now at jacksonshotel.ie.
At Fleming's, we take great pride in having provided quality steel and roofing to all our customers throughout Ireland since 1860.
Tell them about the doors, John.
OK, Mike. We also provide a full quality range of
Doors, industrial doors, garage doors, roller doors, insulated doors.
Thanks for that, Mike.
No dramas, mate.
Fleming's, engineering solutions for 150 years. Call us now on 074 91 48 234.
This is Sarah's happy place. Front left speaker, lost in the music, not a care in the world. Why? Because on the way here, Sarah popped into Dunnes Stores and stocked up on enough snacks, drinks and dry shampoo to survive 3 festivals, even though she's only going to 1. Summer is served at Dunnes Stores with online delivery, click and collect and same-day delivery with Buy Me. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply.
This week only, get a free upgrade to Loganair's Fly Flex fare. Enjoy a larger 23 kilo hold luggage allowance, increased change flexibility, and collect more Avios, all at no extra cost. T's and C's and exclusions apply. Book by 9th July, travel from 1st August. Booking changes may incur additional fees. Book today at loganair.co.uk.
Who the hell are you? Get ready, Donegal. Highland Radio is throwing a party like no other. It's the Big Highland Summer Bingo Party, hosted with me, Keith Fletcher,
and me, Lee Gooch, Hawaiian shirts, hulas, how the hula are ya? Big laughs and even bigger cash prizes. With €1,000 up for grabs, expect big party tunes, madness, and just a little bit of mayhem.
So, Saturday the 2nd of August at Jackson's Hotel Balbuffet.
You better get your tickets quick on eventbrite.com.
Hey, what? Is it over 18s?
You better mention it's over 18.
Okay. And it's over 18s.
All right, so both me and Charlie Boyle are over 18 as well. We are unlocking the skills that will define success in an evolving world. So, who is this book? And it's not. It's very clear to read. I don't know why every book isn't black on white, right? Because I find it easy to read. The text is good size, and it's not huge, right? It's full of stuff, but it's not an encyclopedia in terms of size either. So, who is the book for, and what might they get from it? What would you expect them to get from it?
So, I suppose the reason for the book is to push the agenda of human skills as part of skills of the future in the workplace. The work that we do with Customer Service Excellence Ireland is looking at customer experience, and what we find more and more that even in a digitally disrupted world that we're in, the human touch is still hugely relevant. So, the simple things like acknowledgement, thank you, somebody coming back to you, those simple world-class basics, as we would
I'll be
call
with
them.
you in a minute.
Yeah.
I swear, at a restaurant, when say, wait here to be seated.
Yeah.
Just say, I'll be with you in a minute.
Exactly, yeah. And that simple communication, the 1%, those things that are of huge importance. So the book is for that, spreading that agenda and trying to get, even if it's influencing funders, EU funding, we need more research into human skills, because what we found in the short bit of research we've done is that most businesses will say 50 to 60% of the people they need to have a high level of human skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yet that's not what we're doing, education.
So where is
training.
So that's what I was going to get to. So in education and in training, so any revision or reform of Leaving Cert needs to factor in the ability, human skills. So what are human skills?
Well,
really?
if we took one of the first ones, I mean, the first chapter talks about connecting through storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I was involved in the building of an apprenticeship for sales about 3 years ago with the National Educational Training Board. And one of the modules we put in there was storytelling, the ability to tell stories, because people will buy off people. We now know that. It used to be they bought the product at a certain price. Then we went through that phase where people buy from people. But people will buy the story as well. So if there's a strong story behind the product of where it was made, let's say something like Donegal Tweed, McGee's, there's a fantastic story behind that. So if we can teach people in sales to tell stories, and storytelling is not, it's not something that is highly technical. A good storytelling course might take, 15 hours, and you give people the chance to tell their own story, to tell the story of where they're working, to tell the story of how the business started up. So that might be one. You spoke about resilience. Resilience is of huge importance because people are going to get knocked back. And if you take somebody that maybe does a civil engineering course in one of the universities or our own local university here, is it right to teach them 99% technical skills, the civil engineering skills, or should 15 or 20% of that be human skills? Because something must prepare them for that resilience for their first day in the job in London or Dublin or
presumably
here in
that
the county.
15% helps them to execute the remaining percent as
Exactly,
well.
yeah. And where there's a very interesting backstory as to how this all started up, and that was, and we were told by the person who was approached, a gentleman called George Westerman out in Boston, out in MIT. Microsoft spoke to them 4 years ago, basically walked down, a mile down the road to their university, and they said that they detected that the people who were responsible for technical advancement in Microsoft were running out of skills, and the skills that they were running out of were actually human skills, the human skill of empathy being one. So technically they were brilliant, they were geniuses, but they didn't have the ability perhaps to listen and communicate, and that might have been a younger generation coming up. So what MIT proposed to them was that they weren't falling behind on their digital skills, they were falling behind on their human skills, which led to the fact that they assumed what you wanted rather than asking you what you really needed in the technical device.
Actually, I was literally about to ask about, linear thinking. And are we sometimes too, are we developing linear thinking people that fantastic direct skill that you've learned, but if you have to think around it, or if you have to sort of, maybe the messaging wasn't quite as clear to be able to, be assertive and confident enough to follow through on the task, even if there's some ambiguity there. And I think there's a chapter on that. I'm not sure if it talks specifically about that. Is that the ambiguity you're talking of?
Yeah, there is. There's a chapter that talks about ambiguity, and I suppose just alongside that, one of the modules we're getting a lot of requests for at the minute is that thing of how to have a difficult conversation. Because again, young people perhaps working in any sector, they want to bring something up with their manager or their line manager, but they don't have the same ability to do that as maybe a 20-year-old 20 years ago. And that simple
good
part
communication
of,
is vital, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, communication is centered to all of the human skills. Really.
There's also a chapter on accountability. What area of accountability are you talking about there?
Taking responsibility and taking accountability.
So I think that's lacking.
Putting your hand up. Now, it's not as straightforward as I should put my hand up and take responsibility for a mistake I made. You must have, and I know the phrase is too often used, the place of work must have a psychologically safe place for you to do that. And if it's not safe, people won't take accountability. So they'll go into the opposite of that, which is a blame culture. Who can I find the blame here? But accountability is, I didn't follow through on that. I got that wrong. Let me make that better by the customer. And then, let's all learn from that. But there's a culture there.
And I understand you're approaching this from a business perspective, but it's not just business. This is relationships. This is this is dealing with your family. This is dealing with friends. it's not just in that area. So the book, which has been well endorsed by the likes of Dr. Deirdre Curran and our own former TD, Joe McHugh. So is this, who do you want? I mean, obviously you're going to say everyone should buy it and read it, okay. Is this for people in the business community? Because it also talks about compassion and empathy, cross-cultural understanding, all sort of, hot topics. Is it a student who maybe can see how they can grow? What might be demanded of them in the workplace?
Yeah. And it's always been a good question from the beginning. Who is the book for? What's the intention of this book? And with the company that helped me put it together, the Right Book Company in the UK, their point was, okay, it's for those who you want to influence to make change. So it is primarily for businesses.
But you can also be your own influencer.
Exactly, and that's where the closer to home bit comes. Is that the examples of those who exhibit these human skills have, in every case, been people that have been, within a couple of kilometres of where I've lived, and you can't jump over. It's very easy to say, in terms of leadership, we roll out the same global names. But there's been outstanding leaders in our own county and in our own parish. And, one of them on resilience, which is quite a dramatic one, chapter 19, Alana Conahan, whose mother, Glory McCole, was murdered in front of her. And it, was a very, very tragic scene. But Alana's story is one of resilience. And resilience leaves clues. And if you look at, how she describes from that night through to the current, day, it's fantastic. And that was, that resilience to me would be a great inspiration to young people who are maybe struggling with that human skill.
Yeah, I really think it is a conversation we need to be having now for many of the reasons that that what I'm observing and what I'm seeing, and where I think, we're at a crossover period now where AI is developing. And we're and it still has its flaws and all that kind of stuff. We're not there yet whereby you ring your local nail bar and everything is done with an AI assistant, or your assistant talks to them. And then we're going to have people that are born into this. So this is their life. This is, integrating with AI. And I really have concerns that AI is going to be like the mobile phone, but to a much, much greater factor. So it's all very interesting book. And as you say, we're doing the same things now in the Leaving Cert, for an example, that we were doing 40 years ago. And the world is an incredibly different place.
Yeah. But I think there's an awareness of that, and hopefully a move to include, what we would call human skills, or those life skills. And you're absolutely right. It's relevant in every area. I mean, if you take the world today, there's nearly a dominance of aggression, of shouting people down. There's no empathy. There's not the level of empathy that there was in the past.
That's how people see power and assertion.
Exactly,
it's by shutting someone else down.
So it's just really about starting the conversation, and that's what the book attempts to do.
Yeah, well, we've had it. We've had a 20-minute conversation. Listen, Charlie, where's the book available?
So at the minute, it's available on Amazon, Amazon.ie, or any Amazon globally. Waterstones in the UK, that's the outlets at the minute. We're doing a kind of slow and softer launch because there was a problem with the book coming through customs, and in the next month we'll do a live launch in the county, and I'll come back to you with dates on that there. But in the meantime, it's online with Amazon.
All right, The Future is Human, and it's from Charlie Boyle, who we've just been speaking to. Charlie, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks, Rob.
The 9 till noon show with the award-winning Lennon Festival Ramelton, now until July 14th. This weekend, enjoy Honour, Queen Tribute, Tumbling Paddies and ABBA Sensations, plus family fun and entertainment for everyone. For full details, see Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
Bedtime bargains at Cooney's Home Interiors. Huge savings on in-stock beds. 4'6" fabric bed frame from €299. 5-foot bed frame with mattress only €599. Mattresses from €129. Set of pillows €10. Bed sheets from only €5. These are just some of the many offers in store at Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny. Offers only while stocks last.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
Print Supplies and Frosses delivers managed print solutions that save you time and money. With remote servicing and local support, we take the hassle out of printers and photocopiers. Stay efficient, stay supplied. Email sales@printsupplies.ie today. Print smart, save money, trust local.
Monster Bingo every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel. €3,300 must go with €1,000 on the last page. Doors open 7:30. Bingo starts at 8:30. That's Monster Bingo this and every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford.
Looking for family fun this July? Discover Century Complex. Kids will love the soft play while teens try augmented reality darts and crazy golf. Enjoy tasty food and the latest blockbusters. Rain or shine, Century Complex is the ultimate destination for all ages. Unforgettable fun awaits. Don't miss out.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
So sometimes we get the weather sent to us for Ulster and sometimes it's more specific to the northwest. This is more of a provincey one, as Materian would describe it. But a dry day for most of today with some spells of sunshine, though it'll be cooler and cloudier over the northwest with patchy rain or showers. Breezy and a fairly fresh northwest wind, temperatures of 14 to 20 degrees. So the national outlook, an Azores high will build this week with warm and settled weather to come, becoming very warm or even hot on Thursday. So Wednesday, dry, Tuesday, patchy drizzle, Thursday, a dry day for most with warm spells of sunshine, though it might possibly stay cloudy over the northwest, temperatures around 23 degrees. Friday, a very hot or warm day with that continental air mass. It's going to feed up across Ireland with sunny conditions and temperatures of 22 to 28 degrees. Saturday's looking good. Sunday, they can't really predict it because it's not that easy to predict, is it? Once you go that far out. Let's get to some of your comments. There seems to be an ongoing issue with Mary T. During the election, Mary T was attacked for saying women were unsafe in Letterkenny. Now she's being called out for her mongrel comments. Well, to me, it's clear she was rebuking or rebutting comments that Irish people are mongrels. She wasn't referring to any other group of individuals by my reading of it anyway. I thought it was quite clear that she was reacting to a professor's comment describing us as mongrels. Listen, in politics, if you're making inroads or you're making gains, it's a dirty game and people will try and take you down. All of the politicians, Charlie McConalogue, Pearse Doherty, Padraig McLaughlin, Charles Ward, they all get personal attacks, personal political attacks. It's part of the game. Pat the Cope, all of them. So, you know, that is part of it, unfortunately. A caller says 3 green and gold, 1 red team left. Is it an omen? Hope not. What would the omen be? That the 1 red team might succeed? I don't know. It depends, I suppose, on what you're feeling. For the last 18 months, I've been trying to get 2 to 3 drivers to work for my company, but I can't. Terms, condition and pay is very competitive. The issue is the benefits are too good, and they've clearly said that. We now have taken a stand, and anyone who leaves after a day or two saying the job is not for us, we're contacting social welfare and saying they just don't want to work. We need to do something about too generous benefits in this country. Very frustrated business owner, I would say. What age does the drivers have to be? I suppose you have to be a certain age, don't you, and a certain level of driving experience. But anyway, be that as it may, they're obviously very frustrated. Obviously have a high turnover of staff because people go, oh, that's not for me. But also then saying they're contacting revenue. What do you think about that? 08660 25,000. I'm tortured in Tullyone, St Johnstone, with boy racers doing donuts outside my house. There were 8 cars outside the house on Saturday nights. We're 2 old pensioners and can't get to bed. Do you know what I would start doing if I were you? I'd start ringing the guards at any given time. As soon as you start seeing assemble, keep ringing the guards and log the calls, write it down. And then, you know, if you get to 5 or 6 calls with the guards with no action, give me a ring and we'll pursue it from there, because you shouldn't have to live your life like that. So keep ringing the guards every time it begins. Record, you know, what they say to you. Do they turn up? When did they turn up? And keep track of that and get back in contact with me, because there's absolutely no way you should be dealing with that. A caller says, who are mongrels according to Aintu? Well, it was a professor called the Irish mongrels if the truth be told. But anyway, I'm not here to defend Mary T. I'm just here to play it down the middle. All right, that's where we have to leave it. Great to be